Have you ever tried holding onto something so tightly that it broke under the pressure? A fragile flower crushed in your hand, a sandcastle crumbling as you attempt to perfect it, a relationship strained from endless effort. It's a painful lesson many of us have experienced. Sometimes, the harder we try, the worse the outcome becomes. Think back to a time when you desperately wanted something to go your way. Perhaps it was a career goal, a personal achievement, or even someone's approval. You planned meticulously, worked tirelessly, and thought about it constantly. Yet instead of things falling into place, they seemed to unravel. The frustration builds, doubts creep in, and soon it feels like you're running in circles. The weight of your own expectations suffocates the joy that once fueled your efforts. It's not a lack of talent or intelligence that creates this struggle. It's the weight of attachment. The more tightly we cling, the more we resist the natural flow of life. And that resistance? It's like trying to swim upstream in a raging river. Exhausting, discouraging, and ultimately futile. But what if there's another way? A lighter way to approach life, where success comes not from force, but from alignment. This is the wisdom Buddhism offers, a wisdom rooted in letting go of the need to control every outcome without giving up on what matters. It's about finding peace in the process rather than being enslaved by the result. This isn't passive or lazy. It's liberating, powerful, and deeply transformative. There's a story of a boy on a breezy spring afternoon running across a field with a kite. It's a bright red kite, one he spent days crafting with his father. With every step, he feels the pull of the wind, lifting it higher. His face lights up with joy as the kite soars, painting streaks of red across the sky. But then, the string begins to slip from his fingers. His heart races as he clutches tighter, determined not to lose it. The harder he pulls, the more chaotic the kite's flight becomes. It wobbles, dips, and starts spiraling out of control. In a panic, he grips the string with all his might, trying to yank it back into balance. But his force only tightens the tension. Finally, the string snaps. The kite spirals downward, crashing into a tree far away. The boy collapses on the ground, defeated. His father, who had been watching, walks over and places a hand on his shoulder. "You held on too tight," he says gently. "Kites need space to fly. If you give it some slack, the wind does the work for you." At first, the boy doesn't understand. He thought holding on tightly was the only way to keep the kite in the air. But as they retrieve the kite and try again, his father shows him how to release just enough string for the wind to carry it. Slowly, the boy lets go, not of the kite, but of his need to control it. This time, the kite flies higher than ever, steady and free in the breeze. We've all been the boy with the kite at some point in life. Whether it's a goal we're striving for, a dream we're chasing, or a relationship we're trying to hold together, there's this instinct to grip tighter when things feel uncertain. If I just try harder, we think, it will all work out. But much like the kite, life doesn't respond well to force. When we over-control, we create tension. When we cling, we lose balance. And when we focus too much on the outcome, we miss the joy of the journey. This story isn't just about a boy and his kite. It's about the way we approach life. The wind represents the forces we can't control. Time, circumstances, other people's choices. The string is our effort, and the kite is our dream. The key is learning to balance effort with trust. Too much force, and we break the string. Too little effort, and the kite never takes off. There's a heaviness that comes with chasing something too hard. Anxiety creeps in, turning even small setbacks into massive obstacles. You start questioning your worth, your abilities, and your path. It's an emotional roller coaster that leaves you drained and unmotivated. Consider relationships, for example. Have you ever tried so hard to earn someone's love or approval that it backfired? Maybe you sent endless texts, planned grand gestures, or bent over backward to be everything they wanted. But instead of feeling closer to them, you felt emptier, like you were losing yourself. That's the cost of attachment. It narrows our focus and blinds us to the bigger picture. Now, think about a time when you let go. Not in defeat, but in trust. Maybe you stopped chasing someone's validation and focused on being true to yourself. Or you released your grip on a goal, choosing instead to enjoy the process. What happened? Often things begin to flow naturally. The energy you once spent worrying transforms into clarity and confidence. Letting go isn't about quitting or giving up. It's about creating space for life to unfold as it's meant to. When the boy loosened his grip on the string, he didn't stop caring about the kite. He simply allowed it to fly on its own. This balance of effort and surrender is what allows results to come naturally. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering, but this doesn't mean we shouldn't care deeply or work hard. It means we should care without clinging. When we hold on too tightly, we resist the natural flow of life, creating stress and frustration. But when we let go, we align ourselves with that flow, making it easier for things to fall into place. Imagine the boy running across the field with his kite, smiling as the wind lifts it higher. He's no longer focused on keeping the kite in perfect balance or reaching a specific height. He's simply enjoying the feeling of the breeze, the sunlight on his face, and the wonder of the moment. This is the freedom that comes from letting go of attachment. Not freedom from effort, but freedom within effort. When we stop obsessing over the end result, we begin to see the beauty in the process. We find joy in taking small steps, learning along the way, and trusting that the right outcomes will come at the right time. It's a mindset shift that not only reduces stress, but also increases our capacity for success. Life isn't about constantly pushing and pulling. It's about finding harmony between effort and ease. When we approach life with curiosity instead of control, with trust instead of attachment, we open the door to possibilities we never imagined. So, as you move forward, remember the boy and his kite. Remember the wisdom of loosening the grip, of letting the wind carry you higher than you could ever climb on your own. The results you're longing for are often just waiting for you to stop chasing and start trusting. There's a strange irony in life that many people don't recognize until they've exhausted themselves trying. The harder you push, the more distant your goal seems to become. It's not that effort is unimportant. Effort matters. But when effort becomes obsession, when every moment is consumed with chasing, fixing, and forcing results, life pushes back. Outcomes resist control. Doors refuse to open when you bang on them too loudly. It's as if the universe itself is whispering, "Let go, and let me work with you." This is where many people feel stuck, tangled in frustration, wondering why their best efforts fall flat. It's not that they're incapable or unlucky. It's that they've unknowingly fallen into a trap, the paradox of effort. When effort turns into over-effort, the energy we expend begins to work against us. It creates resistance where flow is needed, and instead of progress, we feel exhaustion. So, what is the way forward? The key lies not in giving up, but in understanding how to apply effort with grace and alignment. The paradox of effort begins with a fundamental truth. Results are not entirely within our control. This doesn't mean we abandon our goals or stop caring about them. It means learning how to align our actions with the natural flow of life, to trust in the process rather than force outcomes. The more we let go of the need to control every detail, the more life seems to cooperate. Let's consider how this works in relationships. Think of someone trying too hard to earn the love or approval of others. They overcompensate, sending too many messages, planning extravagant gestures, or constantly seeking reassurance. Instead of bringing others closer, this energy often pushes them away. People sense the desperation, the neediness, and it creates discomfort. On the other hand, when someone radiates quiet confidence, showing love and kindness without clinging or overexerting, they naturally attract warmth and affection. The difference lies in the energy they bring. One is heavy, the other is light. This dynamic extends far beyond relationships. In professional settings, for example, we often encounter people who try to dominate every situation. They micromanage, obsess over details, and refuse to delegate tasks because they fear losing control. Instead of inspiring trust, they create tension and fatigue. Their colleagues feel stifled, and the work environment becomes strained. Compare this to someone who leads with trust, giving others the space to shine. By balancing effort with trust, they create an atmosphere of collaboration and ease, where results come more naturally. The same principle applies to creative pursuits. Writers, artists, and musicians often talk about being in the zone, that magical state where ideas flow effortlessly, but that state is elusive when creativity is forced. Staring at a blank page, trying to conjure inspiration through sheer willpower, often leads to frustration. True creativity arises when the mind is relaxed, open, and receptive. It's not about working less. It's about working with a lighter touch, letting ideas come to you rather than chasing them down. This balance between effort and ease is also evident in physical activities. Athletes, for instance, understand that overtraining can harm performance. Muscles need rest to grow. A sprinter who pushes themselves to exhaustion every single day won't perform as well as one who trains strategically, allowing time for recovery. Even in moments of peak performance, athletes talk about finding a rhythm, a flow, where effort feels natural and unforced. The harder they try to force their movements, the less efficient they become. Nature itself provides countless examples of the paradox of effort. Consider a river flowing around rocks. It doesn't fight against the obstacles in its path. It simply adapts, finding the easiest way forward. Its power lies in its ability to flow naturally, without resistance. The same principle can guide us in our own pursuits. When we stop fighting against the current, we conserve energy and make progress with greater ease. The paradox of effort doesn't mean abandoning discipline or hard work. Discipline is essential, but it must be paired with trust. Trust in the timing of things, trust in the process, trust that not every detail needs to be controlled. This trust creates space for results to unfold naturally, in ways we might not have anticipated. For instance, people often approach their careers with a rigid plan, expecting every step to follow a specific timeline. But life rarely unfolds according to a script. Opportunities often arise when we least expect them, and rigidly clinging to one path can blind us to these possibilities. By focusing on doing our best in the present moment, rather than obsessing over future outcomes, we remain open to unexpected doors that may lead to even greater success. There's a quiet strength in knowing when to let go. Letting go doesn't mean apathy. It means releasing the mental tension that clouds judgment and drains energy. A gardener, for example, doesn't stand over their plants. shouting at them to grow faster. They tend the soil, water the seeds, and trust the natural process of growth. The same applies to our goals. We nurture them with consistent effort, but we must also give them space to grow. Many spiritual traditions echo this wisdom. In Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment teaches us to act without being overly fixated on the results. This doesn't mean acting without care. It means acting with clarity and focus, unburdened by anxiety over outcomes. When we release attachment, we free ourselves from the emotional roller coaster of success and failure. This emotional steadiness allows us to respond to challenges with resilience, rather than reacting impulsively out of fear or frustration. The paradox of effort also reminds us to find joy in the process. Too often, we place all our happiness on achieving a specific goal, believing we'll finally be content once we reach it. But this mindset robs us of the present moment. Life is happening now, not in some distant future. By shifting our focus from the end result to the present journey, we unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment. This doesn't diminish the importance of our goals. It enhances our experience of working toward them. There's a profound sense of liberation in realizing that you don't have to control everything to succeed. In fact, the more you try to control, the more resistance you create. It's like trying to untangle a knot by pulling harder. The knot only tightens. But when you approach it with patience and care, the threads begin to loosen. Similarly, when we approach life with patience and trust, we create the conditions for success to flow naturally. This doesn't mean challenges disappear. Life will always present obstacles. But when we stop fighting against them and start working with them, those obstacles become opportunities for growth. A tree that grows in a windy environment develops deeper roots to stay grounded. In the same way, the challenges we face can strengthen us as long as we don't let them consume us. The paradox of effort also highlights the importance of pacing ourselves. Burnout is a real consequence of overexertion. When we push too hard, we drain our energy and lose the ability to see clearly. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Just as a musician pauses between notes to create rhythm, we must incorporate moments of stillness into our efforts. These pauses allow us to recharge, reflect, and recalibrate. Learning to navigate the paradox of effort is an ongoing practice. It requires self-awareness to recognize when we're pushing too hard and the courage to step back when needed. It also requires humility, the humility to accept that some things are beyond our control. This humility isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. Ultimately, the paradox of effort teaches us that success isn't about how hard we push. It's about how wisely we align our actions with the natural flow of life. When we release the need to control every detail, we create space for results to come in their own time. And often, they come not in the way we expect, but in ways that are even better. Life, after all, has a way of surprising us when we allow it to unfold. Trust the process. Do your part, and let life meet you halfway. Letting go often feels counterintuitive, especially when you've been taught that relentless effort is the key to success. But as we saw in the paradox of effort, pushing too hard can create resistance rather than results. When we loosen our grip, when we stop treating life as something to be controlled and start treating it as something to be trusted, we create space for growth and fulfillment. This naturally brings us to the art of non-attachment, a way of showing up fully while releasing the need to cling to outcomes. It's not about abandoning effort, It's about finding freedom within effort. Non-attachment doesn't mean you stop caring. In fact, it's the opposite. You care deeply, but without the suffocating pressure of needing things to turn out a certain way. Think of a parent encouraging their child to ride a bike. The parent provides guidance and steady hands at the start, but eventually they let go. If they cling too tightly, the child never learns balance. Non-attachment works in much the same way. It allows life to unfold naturally, without unnecessary interference. This practice becomes transformative when applied to relationships. A connection flourishes when it is built on trust, not possession. Holding someone too tightly, demanding they meet all your expectations, or trying to control their choices only creates tension. True love, whether romantic or platonic, thrives when each person has room to breathe, to grow, and to be themselves. Non-attachment in relationships is about supporting others without trying to own them. It's about offering love freely, without strings attached. This principle extends to our ambitions and goals. When we tie our sense of self-worth to achieving a specific outcome, we set ourselves up for constant stress. We live on an emotional roller coaster, celebrating temporary wins and spiraling into despair when things don't go as planned. But when we practice non-attachment, we detach our identity from external achievements. This doesn't mean we stop striving. It means we strive without letting the outcome define us. It's about focusing on the effort itself, the work, the creativity, the process, and finding fulfillment there. Non-attachment also helps us manage setbacks with grace. When things don't go as we hoped, our first instinct might be to cling even tighter, to force a solution. But this only deepens our frustration. Non-attachment teaches us to pause, reflect, and adapt. It reminds us that failure is not the end of the story. It's simply a chapter. By releasing our grip on how things should be, we open ourselves to how things could be, often in ways we never expected. In creative pursuits, the art of non-attachment unlocks a deeper sense of freedom. A musician who plays for the sheer joy of creating sound, a writer who finds meaning in the act of writing itself, or an artist who paints without worrying about how their work will be received. These are examples of people who have embraced non-attachment. Their creativity flows because it is not weighed down by fear of judgment or pressure to achieve perfection. Ironically, this mindset often leads to some of the most inspired and impactful work. In moments of uncertainty, non-attachment becomes a source of strength. Life is unpredictable, and trying to control every detail only leads to anxiety. But when we approach uncertainty with openness and trust, we find resilience. We learn to ride the waves of change rather than being overwhelmed by them. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens. It means responding thoughtfully and purposefully, without clinging to outcomes we cannot control. The art of non-attachment also fosters better decision-making. When we are overly attached to a specific outcome, our judgment becomes clouded. We make choices based on fear of loss, fear of failure, fear of disappointment, rather than on clarity and wisdom. Non-attachment clears away this fog, allowing us to act from a place of confidence and integrity. It helps us prioritize what truly matters, rather than being driven by fleeting desires or external pressures. One of the most beautiful aspects of non-attachment is how it deepens our appreciation for the present moment. When we're not fixated on what's next, we can fully engage with what's now. A conversation becomes more meaningful when we're not distracted by thoughts of what we need to say next. A walk in nature feels richer when we're not preoccupied with where we're headed. Non-attachment invites us to savor life as it unfolds, one moment at a time. This mindset also encourages us to embrace impermanence. Everything in life is temporary. Our successes, our challenges, even our relationships. At first, this might feel unsettling, but when we accept impermanence, we find freedom. We stop clinging to what we think we need and start appreciating what we have. We become more present, more grounded, and more at peace with the ebb and flow of life. Practicing non-attachment doesn't mean avoiding effort or commitment. It's about aligning your actions with your values while releasing the need for specific results. It's about showing up fully, knowing that your worth isn't tied to what you achieve, but to how you live. This perspective is liberating. It frees you from the emotional roller coaster of success and failure and allows you to approach life with calm confidence. To cultivate non-attachment, start by observing your relationship with control. Notice where you're holding on too tightly, whether it's to a goal, a person, or an idea of how things should be. Ask yourself, what would happen if I loosened my grip? This doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space for life to move naturally. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for this practice. By staying present, you can act with intention rather than reacting out of fear or habit. Mindfulness helps you focus on what you can control while letting go of what you can't. It reminds you that your energy is best spent on the present moment, not on worrying about the future or regretting the past. Non-attachment also requires self-compassion. Letting go is not always easy, especially when it involves deep-seated fears or habits. Be patient with yourself as you navigate this process. Celebrate small steps and remember that growth takes time. There's a profound sense of liberation in realizing that you don't have to control everything. In fact, the more you release control, the more life seems to flow. Non-attachment allows you to act with purpose while staying open to the unexpected. It helps you find joy in the journey rather than being consumed by the destination. By practicing non-attachment, you create space for peace, creativity, and genuine connection. You free yourself from the emotional weight of clinging, allowing life to unfold in its own time and way. This isn't about giving up, it's about finding a deeper, more sustainable way of engaging with the world. It's about living fully, with clarity, trust, and an open heart. Non-attachment teaches us to release the grip of control, to trust the process of life without clinging to outcomes. But how do we practice this in a world so focused on results and constant striving? The answer lies all around us. In the natural world, where the wisdom of life's flow is quietly displayed in every stream, breeze, and living creature. Nature offers us profound lessons on balance, patience, and surrender, showing us how to navigate life with grace and harmony. By observing its rhythms, we begin to understand how to align ourselves with the same effortless power. Take a moment to think about a waterfall cascading down a mountainside. The water doesn't resist the rocks in its path, nor does it try to reshape them by force. Instead, it flows around them, finding the path of least resistance. Over time, the water's persistent yet gentle nature wears the rocks smooth, creating harmony rather than conflict. This is one of nature's greatest lessons. Progress is often made not through brute force, but through steady, adaptable effort. The waterfall doesn't hesitate or stop when obstacles arise. It continues to flow, trusting its course. This principle can reshape how we approach challenges. Often, we tackle obstacles with a mindset of resistance, viewing them as barriers that need to be fought or conquered. But this creates unnecessary struggle. Like the water in a stream, we can learn to adapt, redirect, and continue moving forward without losing momentum. Resistance depletes energy, while adaptability conserves it. This doesn't mean passivity. It means approaching challenges with flexibility and creativity rather than rigid force. Butterflies teach us another vital lesson about the value of patience and trust. A caterpillar doesn't rush its transformation into a butterfly. It doesn't panic inside its cocoon or try to force its wings to grow faster. The process takes time, but it unfolds perfectly according to nature's design. When the time comes, the butterfly emerges, fragile at first, but quickly gaining strength as it stretches its wings. This transformation isn't rushed, and because of that, it's complete. If the butterfly were to force its way out prematurely, it wouldn't survive. This lesson reminds us that growth and change can't always be hurried. There's a natural rhythm to life that demands trust and patience. When we attempt to rush outcomes, we risk compromising the process. Whether it's personal growth, relationships, or professional goals, allowing things to unfold naturally often leads to more meaningful and lasting results. Just like the butterfly, our own transformations require time, and the waiting is not wasted. It's where the real work happens. Nature also shows us the beauty of balance. A tree grows upward toward the sun, while its roots sink deep into the earth. Without both, it wouldn't survive. This interplay of grounding and reaching mirrors the balance we need in our own lives. We're often so focused on reaching higher, achieving more, pushing further, that we forget the importance of being grounded. Without stability, our efforts become unsustainable. Nature's wisdom reminds us to balance ambition with presence, action with reflection, and striving with stillness. Consider the changing seasons. Winter doesn't resent the arrival of spring, and summer doesn't try to hold on when autumn comes. Each season has its purpose, and nature flows seamlessly through these cycles. In the same way, our lives have seasons, times of growth, times of rest, times of letting go. Clinging to any one season creates imbalance. When we resist the natural transitions of life, we create stress and suffering. But when we accept each phase as it comes, we move through life with greater ease. The simplicity of nature's rhythms also teaches us to let go of unnecessary complexity. In a forest, every element has a role, and nothing is wasted. The fallen leaves nourish the soil, which feeds the trees, which provide shelter for animals. This interconnectedness creates harmony. In contrast, our lives often become cluttered with excess. Too many commitments, possessions, or distractions. By simplifying and focusing on what truly matters, we can create a sense of harmony in our own lives. One of nature's most profound lessons is found in the way it embraces imperfection. A tree with gnarled branches or a flower missing a petal is no less beautiful than a perfectly symmetrical one. Nature doesn't strive for perfection. It thrives in diversity and imperfection. This is a powerful reminder for us to embrace our own flaws and imperfections. They are not barriers to success or happiness, but part of what makes us unique and resilient. The ocean, vast and unyielding, teaches us about perspective. Its waves rise and fall, sometimes calm, sometimes stormy, but it remains whole and steady. It doesn't cling to the highs or despair in the lows. Similarly, we can learn to navigate life's ups and downs with a sense of steadiness. By focusing on the bigger picture, we can ride out temporary challenges without losing sight of our deeper purpose. Nature also shows us the value of collaboration. A beehive thrives because each bee plays its part, working not for individual gain, but for the good of the whole. This interconnectedness reminds us of the importance of community and cooperation. When we approach life with a mindset of collaboration rather than competition, we create stronger relationships and a greater sense of purpose. Rainfall of Dain Desain A single raindrop seems insignificant, but when combined with millions of others, it nourishes the earth, fills rivers, and sustains life. This reminds us that small, consistent actions can have a profound impact. We often underestimate the power of small steps, but nature shows us that even the tiniest contributions can lead to transformative results over time. The way flowers bloom teaches us about timing. A bud doesn't force itself to open before it's ready. It waits for the right conditions, sunlight, warmth, and nourishment. When the moment comes, it blossoms effortlessly. This patience is a reminder that there's a time for everything. Rushing ahead without preparation often leads to setbacks. But when we align our actions with the right timing, progress feels natural and sustainable. Mountains, standing tall and unyielding, teach us about resilience. They endure storms, erosion, and the passage of time, yet they remain steadfast. Their presence reminds us of the strength we have within us to endure challenges. Resilience isn't about being unshaken by life's difficulties. It's about standing firm in the face of them, knowing that they, too, will pass. Birds in flight demonstrate the balance between effort and trust. A bird flaps its wings to gain altitude, but once it reaches the right height, it glides effortlessly on the wind. It doesn't waste energy fighting the air. It works with it. This is a powerful metaphor for how we can navigate our own journeys. Effort is necessary, but there comes a point where we must trust the flow and allow ourselves to be carried forward. Even the smallest elements of nature, like a spider spinning its web, offer wisdom. A spider doesn't get frustrated when its web is torn. It begins again, weaving with patience and focus. This quiet determination is a reminder that setbacks are not the end. They're an invitation to start fresh. Each thread it spins contributes to the strength of the whole, just as each action we take builds toward our larger goals. Nature's wisdom is an invitation to live with greater harmony, patience, and trust. By observing its rhythms, we learn to let go of resistance, embrace imperfection, and align ourselves with the flow of life. These lessons are not abstract. They are deeply practical and transformative when applied to our daily lives. Through the quiet guidance of waterfalls, butterflies, and all of nature's wonders, we find a path to live more fully, with balance, peace, and purpose. Nature has shown us the beauty of balance, resilience, and the power of flowing with life rather than against it. These lessons naturally lead us to the next critical step in finding peace: letting go of expectations. Expectations often act as invisible chains, binding us to disappointment, frustration, and restlessness. They're built on assumptions about how life should unfold, yet when those assumptions don't align with reality, they create suffering. To free ourselves, we must loosen the grip of expectations and learn to engage with life as it truly is, not as we wish it to be. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean giving up hope or ambition. It means releasing the mental script that says, "This is how things must happen." Expectations create rigid structures in our minds, and when reality doesn't fit, it feels like the whole structure collapses. For example, expecting recognition for hard work can lead to bitterness when it doesn't come, even though the effort itself may have been valuable. Shifting focus from the expectation of rewards to the intrinsic value of the work can transform how we experience these moments. When you let go of expectations, you begin to see life with clearer eyes. Expectations often cloud judgment, making it difficult to appreciate what's in front of you. For instance, when you enter a conversation expecting specific responses, you miss the richness of what's actually being said. Letting go of those mental scripts allows you to listen deeply and connect more authentically. In relationships, this can be transformative. Instead of holding others to rigid expectations, you create space for them to show up as they truly are, fostering deeper understanding and connection. Expectations can also weigh heavily on our sense of self. Many of us hold expectations about who we should be, how successful we should look, or what milestones we should have achieved by a certain age. These expectations are often shaped by societal pressures or comparisons to others, and they can feel suffocating. Releasing these self-imposed demands allows you to embrace your unique journey. It's not about lowering your standards or losing motivation. It's about recognizing that your path doesn't need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful. Letting go of expectations opens the door to gratitude. When we're not fixated on what should happen, we can appreciate what is happening. This shift in perspective brings a sense of peace that isn't dependent on circumstances, aligning perfectly with our desires. Gratitude grows when we stop demanding that life conform to our plans and instead recognize the gifts it offers, even when they come in unexpected forms. This mindset is particularly valuable in times of uncertainty. Expectations thrive on the illusion of control. They convince us that if we plan carefully enough, we can guarantee specific outcomes. But life is inherently unpredictable. When unexpected challenges arise, clinging to expectations only intensifies stress. Letting go allows us to adapt and find stability in the face of change. It's not about abandoning goals or dreams. It's about holding them lightly, understanding that the journey may take unexpected turns. The act of letting go doesn't come easily. Expectations are often deeply ingrained, tied to emotions, and reinforced over time. It takes conscious effort to recognize when they're at play. Start by noticing how you feel when something doesn't go as planned. Is there frustration, disappointment, a sense of failure? These emotions are often signals that an expectation wasn't met. By identifying these moments, you can begin to question the underlying beliefs driving them. Mindfulness is a powerful tool in this process. When you're present in the moment, you can observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. This awareness helps you see expectations for what they are, mental constructs, not truths. By staying grounded in the present, you can respond to life's challenges with clarity and calm, rather than reacting out of frustration or fear. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean letting go of boundaries or values. It's important to distinguish between healthy boundaries, which protect your well-being, and rigid expectations, which demand that others or the world behave in a specific way. Boundaries come from a place of self-respect and clarity, while expectations often stem from a need for control. For example, expecting someone to always agree with you is unrealistic and damaging, but setting a boundary that ensures respectful communication is both healthy and empowering. In creative pursuits, releasing expectations can unlock new levels of freedom and innovation. When you're overly attached to how a project should turn out, you limit your ability to explore and experiment. Creativity thrives in open spaces where ideas can evolve naturally. Letting go of the need for perfection allows you to focus on the joy of creating rather than the pressure of achieving. This shift often leads to more authentic and inspired results. The process of letting go also teaches resilience. Expectations often create a fragile sense of happiness, one that crumbles when things don't go as planned. But when you release those expectations, your sense of peace becomes more stable. You learn to find contentment in the effort itself, in the relationships you nurture, and in the beauty of the present moment. This resilience doesn't mean you won't face disappointment. It means you'll recover more quickly, with a deeper sense of inner strength. Letting go of expectations can also transform how you approach goals. Goals are valuable. They give us direction and purpose. But when we become overly attached to specific outcomes, they can become sources of stress rather than inspiration. By focusing on the process rather than the result, you create space for growth and learning. This doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means allowing your journey to unfold naturally, without the weight of constant pressure. One of the most profound benefits of releasing expectations is the freedom it brings. Expectations often act as invisible barriers, limiting what we think is possible. When you let go, you open yourself to new opportunities, perspectives, and experiences. This freedom allows you to approach life with curiosity and wonder, embracing the unexpected rather than fearing it. The act of letting go is also deeply tied to forgiveness. Expectations often fuel resentment toward others, toward yourself, or even toward life itself. When you let go, you release the need to hold on to anger or blame. Forgiveness becomes easier because you're no longer tied to the idea that things should have been different. This doesn't mean condoning harm or injustice. It means freeing yourself from the burden of carrying that pain. Letting go of expectations doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice, one that requires patience and persistence. But with each small step, you'll notice a shift. Life becomes lighter, your relationships deepen, and your sense of peace grows. By freeing yourself from the chains of expectation, you create space for the true richness of life to unfold. This isn't about settling or giving up. It's about stepping into a more expansive and joyful way of living. Letting go of expectations creates a sense of freedom and lightness. But what happens when we hold on too tightly? Obsession begins to take root, turning our focus into fixation and our efforts into struggle. The energy of clinging doesn't just block progress, it drains joy, creativity, and clarity. Progress doesn't flourish in the tight grip of obsession. It unfolds in the balance of action and trust. This balance, however, is elusive when we allow fear and control to guide us instead of purpose and belief. The key is understanding the difference between healthy commitment and harmful attachment. Obsession often begins with good intentions. A person pours their energy into a goal, determined to succeed. But when that determination morphs into clinging, the balance tips. Suddenly, every setback feels monumental, every delay becomes unbearable, and every small misstep is magnified into failure. This creates a vicious cycle where the harder we push, the more resistance we face. Clinging is rooted in fear, fear of losing control, fear of failing, fear of not being enough. And fear, by its very nature, limits us. It narrows our perspective, consumes our energy, and blinds us to opportunities. Trust, on the other hand, is expansive. Trust allows us to take action without the emotional weight of obsession. When we trust, we focus on what we can do while releasing the need to control everything. Trust doesn't mean passivity. It means approaching our goals with confidence in the process rather than desperation for results. This shift in energy is subtle but powerful. It transforms effort from frantic to focused, from heavy to purposeful. Obsession often leads to overthinking. When we're overly fixated on an outcome, our minds spin endlessly with what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. Overthinking doesn't solve problems, it amplifies them. It creates mental clutter that makes it harder to see the bigger picture. Trust clears this clutter. It allows us to focus on what truly matters and to take deliberate, meaningful steps forward. Trust quiets the noise of overthinking, replacing it with clarity and calm. Clinging also affects relationships. When we're obsessed with how others perceive us or how they should behave, we place unnecessary strain on those connections. Obsession often manifests as neediness, control, or constant validation seeking. This not only pushes people away, but also leaves us feeling unfulfilled because our sense of worth becomes tied to their approval. Trust, however, fosters healthier relationships. When we trust others, we allow them to be themselves without trying to mold them into our expectations. This creates space for mutual respect, understanding, and genuine connection. The energy of clinging is exhausting. It drains us physically, emotionally, and mentally because it's driven by a constant state of tension. When we cling, we resist the natural flow of life, trying to force outcomes that may not be within our control. This resistance creates friction, and friction burns energy. Trust, on the other hand, restores energy. It's a state of alignment where effort flows naturally, unburdened by the need to force or control. Trusting the process allows us to conserve energy for what truly matters. Obsession also blocks creativity. When we're fixated on a single outcome, we become rigid in our thinking. We're so focused on reaching a specific destination that we miss the opportunities and possibilities along the way. Trust opens the door to creative solutions and unexpected paths. It allows us to approach challenges with curiosity rather than fear, which often leads to breakthroughs that obsession could never achieve. In professional settings, obsession can manifest as micromanagement. Leaders or team members who are obsessed with perfection often struggle to delegate tasks or trust others. This not only creates an unhealthy work environment but also stifles innovation. Trust, on the other hand, empowers others to take ownership of their roles. It fosters collaboration and creativity, leading to better results and stronger relationships. Trust builds an environment where people feel valued and motivated to contribute their best. Obsession thrives on comparison. When we're constantly measuring ourselves against others, we feed the energy of clinging. We start to believe that our worth is tied to outperforming or outshining someone else. This mindset not only creates insecurity, but also shifts our focus away from our own path. Trust redirects our attention inward. It reminds us that our journey is unique and that our progress isn't diminished by someone else's success. Trust helps us celebrate our own growth without falling into the trap of comparison. Clinging also magnifies the fear of failure. When we're obsessed with achieving a specific goal, the possibility of failure feels catastrophic. This fear often paralyzes us, preventing us from taking risks or trying new approaches. Trust reframes failure as a natural part of the process. It reminds us that setbacks are temporary and that every mistake holds a lesson. Trust gives us the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path is uncertain. The energy of clinging often shows up as impatience. When we're obsessed with results, we want them immediately. We become frustrated by delays, convinced that any pause in progress is a sign of failure. Trust teaches patience. It reminds us that growth takes time and that some things can't be rushed. Trust allows us to embrace the pace of life, finding peace in the process rather than racing toward the finish line. Obsession also creates tunnel vision. When we're fixated on a single outcome, we miss the opportunities, connections, and experiences that don't align with that narrow focus. Trust broadens our perspective. It encourages us to stay open to the unexpected and to explore paths we might not have considered. This openness often leads to opportunities that are even better than what we initially envisioned. Clinging can also erode self-worth. When our identity becomes tied to a specific outcome, we feel unworthy or inadequate when things don't go as planned. Trust separates our sense of self from external achievements. It reminds us that our value isn't defined by what we do or accomplish, but by who we are. Trust helps us build a foundation of self-worth that is unshaken by external circumstances. The energy of trust is also deeply rooted in gratitude. When we trust the process, we become more aware of the small victories and moments of joy along the way. Clinging often blinds us to these moments because we're so focused on the end goal. Trust allows us to appreciate the journey, finding fulfillment in the present rather than deferring happiness to the future. Clinging often stems from a lack of faith in ourselves, in others, or in the flow of life. Trust, on the other hand, is an act of faith. It's a choice to believe in the strength of our efforts, the support of our relationships, and the wisdom of life's timing. This faith doesn't eliminate challenges, but it transforms how we face them. It replaces fear with confidence and resistance with acceptance. Learning to shift from clinging to trust takes practice. It requires self-awareness to recognize when obsession is taking over and courage to let go of the need for control. But each step toward trust creates more space for progress, peace, and fulfillment. When we let go of obsession, we don't lose focus or ambition. We gain clarity and freedom. We align our efforts with the natural flow of life, allowing progress to unfold in its own time and way. Trust becomes the foundation for everything we do, transforming not only what we achieve, but also how we experience the journey. Trusting the process teaches us to let go of obsession, allowing life to flow naturally. Yet, even with trust, it's easy to become overly focused on where we want to go. The destination, the achievement, the outcome, can feel like the ultimate prize, overshadowing the journey itself. But life, in its essence, is not about the finish line. It's about the moments in between. The true richness lies not in what we reach, but in how we move, how we live, and how we embrace each step along the way. This is where life becomes a dance, a rhythm of effort, surrender, joy, and growth. Fixating on the destination often robs us of the present. When we're solely focused on reaching the next milestone, we lose sight of the beauty, lessons, and connections happening right now. Life isn't something that begins once we achieve our goals. It's unfolding in every breath, every conversation, every experience. Embracing the journey means recognizing that the moments we often overlook, the quiet mornings, the shared laughter, the small victories, are just as valuable as the grand achievements. The pressure to reach a destination can also create a false sense of urgency. When we rush through life, we miss the richness of each experience. It's like speeding through a beautiful countryside and seeing nothing but a blur outside the window. Slowing down doesn't mean losing ambition. It means engaging fully with where we are, knowing that each step holds its own significance. The journey shapes us in ways the destination never can. It challenges us, humbles us, and often reveals strengths we didn't know we had. The idea of life as a dance is a reminder that movement is not always linear. Progress isn't a straight line. It's a series of steps, pauses, and shifts in direction. Sometimes what feels like a setback is simply a redirection, guiding us toward something better. When we embrace the journey, we learn to move with life's rhythm rather than resisting it. We become more adaptable, more resilient, and more open to the unexpected. Each journey's unique, and comparing our path to someone else's diminishes its value. Society often measures success by external milestones, wealth, titles, or accomplishments, but these markers don't capture the depth of a life well lived. Embracing the journey means finding meaning in our own experiences, no matter how different they may look from others. It's about living authentically, guided by our values rather than external pressures. When we focus less on where we should be and more on how we're growing, life becomes infinitely more fulfilling. The dance of life also teaches us to find joy in the process, even when it's challenging. Not every step will be graceful. There will be missteps, moments of doubt, and periods of struggle, but within those struggles lie opportunities for growth. Each challenge we face adds depth to our character, much like a dancer who refines their movements through practice and persistence. Embracing the journey means welcoming these moments, knowing they're an integral part of the dance. Focusing solely on the destination can also lead to burnout. When we're constantly striving without pause, we exhaust ourselves mentally, emotionally, and physically. The journey is not a race, it's a marathon, and pacing ourselves is essential. Taking time to rest, reflect, and celebrate small wins allows us to sustain our energy and stay connected to our purpose. Life's dance includes moments of stillness, and these pauses are just as important as the steps forward. Embracing the journey also deepens our relationships. When we're present in the moment, we connect more authentically with the people around us. Conversations become richer, and shared experiences carry more meaning. These connections are often the most rewarding aspects of our journey, offering support, inspiration, and a sense of belonging. The people we meet along the way shape us, just as we shape them. The journey is also where we discover our passions and purpose. Sometimes, the destination we thought we wanted turns out to be less important than the path we took to get there. By staying open and curious, we allow ourselves to explore new interests, ideas, and opportunities. This openness often leads to unexpected joy and fulfillment. When we release the need for everything to go according to plan, we make room for life to surprise us. The dance of life invites us to embrace impermanence. Nothing stays the same, and each moment is fleeting. This isn't something to fear, but to cherish. The transient nature of life reminds us to fully engage with each step, knowing that it won't last forever. Gratitude grows when we recognize the preciousness of the present. Even the simplest moments, a shared meal, a walk in nature, a kind word, take on greater significance when we approach them with awareness. Learning to enjoy the journey also means letting go of the need for constant validation. When we're overly focused on the destination, we often seek external approval to confirm we're on the right track. But true fulfillment comes from within. It's found in the quiet satisfaction of knowing we're living in alignment with our values, regardless of how others perceive us. The journey is deeply personal, and its rewards are often internal. Growth, resilience, and a sense of peace. The dance of life also requires us to trust ourselves. The path won't always be clear, and there will be times when doubt creeps in. But embracing the journey means believing in our ability to navigate uncertainty. Trusting ourselves doesn't mean having all the answers. It means knowing we can adapt, learn, and grow as we move forward. Each step we take builds confidence, even when the way ahead feels uncertain. The journey is where we cultivate patience. In a world that values instant results, learning to appreciate the process can feel counterintuitive. But growth takes time, and rushing often leads to frustration. Patience allows us to approach challenges with a sense of calm, knowing that progress often unfolds gradually. It teaches us to focus on what we can do today, rather than worrying about how long it will take to reach our goals. Embracing the journey also means letting go of perfectionism. Life is messy, unpredictable, and imperfect, and that's what makes it beautiful. When we release the pressure to have everything figured out, we create space for creativity, spontaneity, and joy. The dance of life isn't about flawless execution. It's about showing up, moving with intention, and finding meaning in the process. The journey often reveals our true strengths. It's easy to feel confident when everything is going smoothly, but it's in moments of struggle that we discover our resilience, determination, and resourcefulness. These qualities aren't developed overnight. They're cultivated through experience. By embracing the journey, we allow these strengths to emerge, shaping us into more capable and compassionate individuals. Life's dance also encourages us to celebrate progress, no matter how small. When we're fixated on the destination, we overlook the milestones along the way. But each step forward, no matter how minor, is worth acknowledging. Celebrating progress doesn't mean settling. It means recognizing the effort and growth that brought us to this point. These moments of celebration fuel our motivation and remind us of the value of the journey. The journey is where we find meaning. The destination may bring a sense of achievement, but it's the path we take to get there that shapes our story. Each decision, challenge, and experience adds depth to our lives, creating a narrative that is uniquely ours. Embracing the journey allows us to live fully, finding purpose not just in where we're going, but in how we get there. The dance of life is ongoing. There is no final step, no ultimate destination where everything suddenly makes sense. Instead, life invites us to keep moving, learning, and growing. By embracing the journey, we align ourselves with its rhythm, finding joy in the movement itself. This isn't about giving up on goals or dreams. It's about living in a way that honors the present while moving toward the future. Life becomes richer, fuller, and more meaningful when we dance with it rather than racing against it. As we embrace the journey, we begin to see life for what it truly is. Not a race to a final destination, but a symphony of moments, growth, and unexpected turns. But what happens when we feel lost? When the rhythm of life seems offbeat and we question whether we're even moving in the right direction? This is where trust becomes essential. Not blind trust, but a deeper belief in the unfolding of life itself. Trusting the universe is not about passivity or resignation. It's about aligning with life's rhythm and recognizing that sometimes the most profound progress happens when we let go of control and move with the current instead of against it. Trusting the universe begins with understanding that life operates on its own timeline, not ours. We often feel frustration or anxiety when things don't happen as quickly as we expect. But this impatience overlooks a simple truth. Timing matters. Just as the sun rises and sets at the perfect moment, our lives unfold according to rhythms that we can't always predict or control. Trusting the universe means embracing this timing, even when it doesn't align with our plans. It's about recognizing that some seeds need more time to grow and that rushing the process can lead to incomplete results. When we trust life's rhythm, we begin to let go of the illusion of control. Control often feels like a safety net, a way to shield ourselves from uncertainty. But life, by its nature, is unpredictable. No amount of planning or effort can account for every twist and turn. Trusting the universe doesn't mean abandoning responsibility. It means focusing on what we can do while releasing the need to control outcomes. This shift frees us from the anxiety that comes from trying to micromanage life, allowing us to engage with the present moment more fully. Trusting the universe also invites us to cultivate a sense of openness. When we're overly fixated on specific goals or outcomes, we close ourselves off to possibilities we hadn't considered. Life often has a way of surprising us with opportunities that are even better than what we envisioned. But to recognize these opportunities, we need to remain open and flexible. Trusting the universe means staying curious and willing to explore paths we didn't initially plan for. This trust is especially powerful during times of struggle or uncertainty. It's easy to feel aligned with life's rhythm when everything is going smoothly, but true trust is tested when challenges arise. These moments often feel like roadblocks, but they are frequently redirections, guiding us toward growth or new opportunities. Trusting the universe during difficult times allows us to see challenges as part of the bigger picture, rather than obstacles meant to derail us. It helps us find strength and resilience in moments of doubt. Aligning with life's rhythm also means paying attention to its subtle cues. The universe often communicates through patterns, opportunities, and even setbacks. When we slow down and tune in, we begin to notice these signs and can use them to guide our actions. Trusting the universe isn't about waiting passively for things to happen. It's about listening, observing, and responding to life's flow with intention and clarity. One of the most liberating aspects of trusting the universe is the freedom it brings from overthinking. When we constantly analyze and second-guess our decisions, we create mental clutter that clouds our judgment. Trust allows us to act with confidence, knowing that even if we make mistakes, we can learn and adjust. This doesn't mean ignoring logic or foresight. It means balancing them with a sense of faith in the process. Trusting the universe also deepens our sense of connection. When we align with life's rhythm, we begin to see how interconnected everything is. Our actions, thoughts, and energy ripple out into the world, influencing not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. This interconnectedness reminds us that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. Trusting the universe means recognizing that we're not navigating life alone. We're part of a collective flow. This sense of trust fosters patience. In a world that often glorifies speed and instant results, patience can feel like a lost art. But life's most meaningful experiences, whether it's building a relationship, mastering a skill, or healing from a setback, take time. Trusting the universe helps us appreciate the value of patience, allowing us to move forward without rushing or forcing progress. Patience creates space for growth, reflection, and unexpected blessings. Trust also shifts our relationship with failure. When we don't trust the process, failure feels final, like a door slammed shut. But when we trust, failure becomes a stepping stone, a necessary part of the journey. It's not an end, but a pivot point, redirecting us towards something better suited for our growth. Trusting the universe means seeing failure not as a judgment of our worth, but as a teacher, showing us what we need to learn or adjust. The practice of trust also encourages gratitude. When we stop resisting life and start aligning with its rhythm, we become more aware of the gifts each moment brings. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's present, fostering a sense of contentment and peace. This doesn't mean settling or giving up on dreams. It means appreciating the journey while still moving toward our goals. One of the most beautiful outcomes of trusting the universe is the courage it instills. Fear often holds us back, convincing us to play small or stick to what feels safe. But trust allows us to take risks, try new things, and step outside our comfort zones. It reminds us that even if we stumble, life will catch us and guide us forward. This courage opens doors to growth, discovery, and transformation. Aligning with life's rhythm also enhances our intuition. When we're constantly trying to control or predict outcomes, we often ignore the quiet voice within us. Trusting the universe helps us reconnect with our intuition, allowing it to guide our decisions. Intuition isn't about ignoring logic. It's about integrating our inner wisdom with our external actions. This alignment creates a sense of flow, where decisions feel natural and grounded. Trusting the universe also requires self-compassion. There will be moments when we doubt, stumble, or question the process. In these times, it's important to be gentle with ourselves, acknowledging that trust is a practice, not a destination. Self-compassion allows us to navigate these moments with kindness rather than self-criticism, keeping us aligned with life's rhythm even during challenging times. When we trust the universe, we also cultivate a sense of wonder. Life is full of mysteries and surprises, and aligning with its rhythm allows us to experience them more fully. Trust helps us approach each day with curiosity, finding joy in the unknown rather than fearing it. This sense of wonder keeps life vibrant and meaningful, reminding us of its infinite possibilities. Trusting the universe ultimately brings us back to the present moment. When we stop fixating on the future or dwelling on the past, we create space to fully experience the here and now. This presence is where life truly happens. It's where we grow, connect, and find meaning. Aligning with life's rhythm isn't about controlling the flow. It's about moving with it, finding harmony in the process. The practice of trusting the universe is one of surrender, not in the sense of giving up, but in the sense of giving in to the flow of life, its rhythms, and its wisdom. It's about showing up fully, doing our part, and then allowing life to meet us halfway. In this dance, we find not only progress, but also peace, connection, and fulfillment. Trusting the universe transforms how we experience life, turning it into a journey rich with purpose, growth, and joy. Trusting the universe taught us to align with life's natural rhythm, embracing patience and letting go of the need for constant control. But trust alone is not enough. There is an active role we must play. It's one thing to wait for rain, but another to prepare the soil so that, when the rain does come, growth is inevitable. The farmer's wisdom reminds us that it's not the rain that guarantees a bountiful harvest. It's the care and attention given to the soil long before the rain arrives. In life, this principle applies to every area. The foundation you build determines the outcome, no matter how unpredictable the external conditions may seem. The lesson begins with understanding that chasing rain is an exhausting and fruitless pursuit. Rain symbolizes outcomes, rewards, or external validations, things we cannot directly control. The soil, however, is within our care. It represents the groundwork we lay, our mindset, habits, skills, and the effort we invest in preparation. A farmer doesn't spend all their time staring at the sky, waiting for rain to fall. Instead, they work tirelessly on the soil, ensuring it's fertile and ready. This shift in focus from external conditions to internal preparation transforms how we approach life. Tending your soil means investing in what you can control. In relationships, it's about nurturing trust, communication, and understanding rather than expecting others to act a certain way. In personal growth, it's about developing resilience, discipline, and a curious mind rather than obsessing over achieving specific milestones. The farmer understands that when the soil is rich and healthy, it has the capacity to nurture growth, regardless of when the rain comes. This principle teaches us to prioritize the process over the result. Preparation isn't just physical effort, it's mental and emotional readiness. Tending your soil means cultivating a mindset of patience and perseverance. Growth doesn't happen overnight, and impatience often leads to shortcuts that undermine long-term success. The farmer doesn't rush the seeds to sprout. They trust the process while consistently doing their part. This trust, paired with effort, creates a powerful balance. In our own lives, this means showing up every day, putting in the work, and allowing progress to unfold naturally. One of the most profound lessons from the farmer is the importance of consistency. Success doesn't come from bursts of effort, but from steady, deliberate actions over time. A farmer waters their crops daily, removes weeds regularly, and tends to the land season after season. In the same way, we must consistently nurture the areas of our lives that matter most. Whether it's our health, relationships, or personal goals, small, consistent actions build the foundation for lasting growth. Chasing rain, waiting for perfect conditions or immediate results, often leads to disappointment because it takes the focus away from what truly matters. The farmer also teaches us about the value of adaptability. Weather patterns are unpredictable, and not every season brings the same challenges or rewards. A farmer learns to work with what nature provides, adjusting their methods to suit the conditions. In life, adaptability is just as crucial. Unexpected setbacks, changes, or delays are inevitable, but they don't have to derail progress. By focusing on the soil, our inner resources and preparation, we can adapt to circumstances and find ways to keep growing, even when external conditions aren't ideal. Tending your soil is also a lesson in self-reliance. While external support, like rain, is valuable, it's not guaranteed. The farmer knows that relying solely on rain is risky. They explore other methods like irrigation to ensure their crops thrive. Similarly, we can't depend entirely on external factors like validation, luck, or recognition to succeed. Building self-reliance means developing the skills, habits, and mindset that allow us to thrive independently of external circumstances. This lesson also extends to how we manage setbacks. Just as a farmer deals with storms, droughts, or pests, we face challenges that threaten to disrupt our progress. The farmer doesn't abandon their field after a storm. They assess the damage, make repairs, and continue nurturing the soil. In life, setbacks are inevitable, but our response determines the outcome. Resilience grows when we focus on what we can do to recover and move forward, rather than fixating on what went wrong. Each challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen the foundation we've built. Patience is another virtue deeply embedded in the farmer's lesson. Seeds take time to grow, and no amount of rushing can speed up the process. This patience is not passive, it's active and purposeful. The farmer doesn't sit idly while waiting for the harvest. They continue tending to the soil, ensuring the conditions are right. In our lives, this translates to putting in consistent effort without becoming fixated on immediate results. It's about trusting that, in time, the effort will bear fruit. Tending your soil also emphasizes the importance of sustainability. A farmer who overworks the land, depleting it of nutrients without replenishment, risks long-term damage. Similarly, when we push ourselves too hard without rest or self-care, we burn out. Sustainable growth requires balance, working hard while also taking time to recharge and nurture our well-being. This balance ensures that we can continue to grow and thrive over the long term. Gratitude plays a key role in the farmer's approach. A farmer doesn't take the soil, the seeds, or the eventual harvest for granted. They understand the interconnectedness of all these elements and approach their work with appreciation. Gratitude shifts our focus from what we lack to what we have, creating a mindset that fosters abundance. When we're grateful for the resources, skills, and opportunities available to us, we approach life with a sense of possibility rather than scarcity. The farmer's lesson also teaches us to let go of perfection. No harvest is flawless, and no season is without its challenges. Yet, the farmer finds value in every crop, knowing that each season brings its own lessons and rewards. In life, the pursuit of perfection often leads to frustration and dissatisfaction. Tending your soil is about embracing progress, imperfections, and all. It's about finding joy in the process rather than constantly striving for unattainable ideals. Community and collaboration are also woven into the farmer's wisdom. While farming often appears solitary, it thrives in the context of shared knowledge, mutual support, and cooperation. Farmers exchange techniques, tools, and encouragement, recognizing that growth is amplified through connection. In our lives, this translates to building relationships that support and inspire us. Collaboration doesn't diminish self-reliance, it enhances it, creating a network of strength and shared wisdom. Tending your soil is ultimately about alignment. The farmer works in harmony with nature, respecting its rhythms and cycles. This alignment creates a sense of flow, where effort feels purposeful rather than forced. In our own lives, alignment means living in accordance with our values, passions, and goals. It's about ensuring that our actions reflect who we are and what we truly want, rather than chasing external markers of success. The beauty of the farmer's lesson lies in its simplicity. It reminds us that the most profound progress often comes from the smallest, most consistent efforts. Tending your soil isn't about dramatic gestures or quick fixes. It's about showing up every day, doing the work, and trusting that growth will follow. When we focus on nurturing what's within our control, we create the conditions for success, no matter what external challenges arise. This wisdom also extends to how we approach life's uncertainties. Just as a farmer doesn't know exactly when the rain will come, we can't predict every twist and turn in our journey. But by tending our soil, investing in our growth, mindset, and preparation, we ensure that we're ready for whatever comes our way. This readiness brings a sense of peace, knowing that we've done our part and can face the future with confidence. The farmer's lesson is a timeless reminder that growth is a partnership between effort and trust. By focusing on what we can nurture and prepare, we align ourselves with life's natural rhythms. This alignment allows us to thrive, not by chasing rain, but by cultivating the soil of our lives with care, patience, and intention. The rain will come when it's meant to, but the true work and the true growth happens long before it falls. The wisdom of tending to the soil teaches us that life's richness lies in effort, consistency, and trust rather than in chasing external rewards. Yet, even as we nurture what's within our control, there's often an underlying pressure to make everything flawless, to seek perfection in every task, goal, or aspect of life. This pursuit can be exhausting, creating endless cycles of striving, self-doubt, and dissatisfaction. But what if perfection is not what we think it is? What if the flaws, the imperfections, and the incomplete moments are what truly give life its meaning and beauty? The idea that perfection is found in imperfection challenges us to see life differently and to embrace its raw, unpolished essence. Imperfection is not a flaw in the system, it is the system. The natural world reflects this beautifully. A tree with a crooked trunk, a flower with uneven petals, or a rock with jagged edges is no less complete or beautiful. Nature doesn't aim for symmetry or flawlessness, yet its creations inspire awe because of their unique, unrepeatable qualities. This reminds us that our own imperfections are not signs of failure, but marks of authenticity. They are what make each of us one of a kind, and embracing them allows us to experience life more fully. The idea of perfection often comes from external standards, expectations set by society, culture, or even ourselves. These standards create a narrow view of success, beauty, or worth, leaving little room for individuality. When we chase these ideals, we not only lose touch with who we are, but also deny ourselves the joy of the present moment. Embracing imperfection, on the other hand, frees us from these constraints. It allows us to define success and fulfillment on our own terms, without the need to meet unrealistic expectations. Imperfection fosters connection. People don't relate to perfection because it feels distant and unattainable. What truly draws people together is vulnerability, being open about our flaws, struggles, and fears. When we embrace our imperfections, we give others permission to do the same. This creates deeper, more authentic relationships built on understanding and empathy. Perfection might impress, but imperfection connects. In creativity, imperfection often leads to innovation. A painter's accidental brushstroke, a writer's unplanned detour in a story, or a musician's unexpected variation can result in something entirely new and captivating. These so-called mistakes often become the defining elements of a work of art. When we let go of the need for everything to go exactly as planned, we open ourselves to possibilities that perfection would never allow. Creativity thrives in the space where imperfection is welcomed and explored. Imperfection also teaches resilience. Life rarely unfolds according to a perfect script, and setbacks, mistakes, or unexpected challenges are inevitable. When we cling to the idea of perfection, these moments can feel devastating. But when we accept imperfection as a natural part of life, we build the resilience to adapt, grow, and find value even in the most difficult situations. Imperfection doesn't signal failure, it signals the opportunity to learn and evolve. One of the most profound lessons of imperfection is how it cultivates humility. Perfection often leads to arrogance or a false sense of superiority, as it creates the illusion that we are better or more deserving than others. Imperfection reminds us of our shared humanity, our vulnerabilities, and our interconnectedness. It grounds us in the understanding that everyone is navigating their own challenges and uncertainties. This humility fosters compassion, both for ourselves and for others. Imperfection allows for growth. If everything were perfect, there would be no need to learn, adapt, or strive for improvement. Growth comes from recognizing where we can do better, not from pretending we have it all figured out. Embracing imperfection means seeing every flaw as an invitation to grow rather than as a reason to give up or feel ashamed. It shifts our mindset from one of judgment to one of curiosity and possibility. In relationships, imperfection is what makes love real and enduring. No partnership or friendship is without its challenges, and expecting perfection from ourselves or others sets us up for disappointment. True connection comes from accepting and loving others as they are, flaws and all. This acceptance creates a sense of safety and trust, where people can be their authentic selves without fear of judgment. The beauty of a relationship lies not in its lack of imperfections, but in its ability to navigate them with understanding and grace. Imperfection also invites us to be present. When we're fixated on making things perfect, we often miss the beauty of what's right in front of us. The present moment becomes a means to an end, rather than an experience to be savored. Letting go of the need for perfection allows us to fully engage with life as it unfolds, appreciating its raw, unfiltered beauty. It reminds us that life's richness lies not in its polished moments, but in its messy, unpredictable and genuine ones. The pursuit of perfection often creates fear of failure, judgment, or not being enough. This fear can be paralyzing, preventing us from taking risks or trying new things. Embracing imperfection liberates us from this fear. It encourages us to step outside our comfort zones, knowing that mistakes and missteps are part of the journey. This freedom allows us to explore, create, and grow without the constant weight of self-doubt. Imperfection also fosters gratitude. When we stop chasing an unattainable ideal, we begin to appreciate what we already have. The small cracks and flaws in our lives become reminders of the experiences, lessons, and growth that brought us to where we are. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's present, creating a sense of contentment and peace. It helps us see that even in imperfection, there is so much to be thankful for. In personal growth, imperfection is a powerful teacher. It shows us where we have room to evolve, but it also teaches us to be kind to ourselves along the way. Self-compassion grows when we accept that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy. This acceptance allows us to celebrate progress rather than fixating on shortcomings. It reminds us that growth is a journey, not a destination, and that each step forward, no matter how small, is meaningful. The idea of perfection often creates an illusion of control, convincing us that if we do everything right, we can avoid pain or failure. But life doesn't work that way. Embracing imperfection means acknowledging that uncertainty and challenges are part of the human experience. It teaches us to let go of control and trust the process, finding peace in the unpredictability of life. This surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means finding strength in adaptability and resilience. Imperfection adds depth to our experiences. A smooth, unblemished surface might be pleasing to the eye, but it lacks the character and richness of something weathered by time. The cracks, scars, and uneven edges in our lives tell stories of resilience, growth, and transformation. They remind us of what we've overcome and how far we've come. Embracing these imperfections allows us to see our lives as works of art, each unique and beautiful in its own way. The Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi celebrates the beauty of imperfection, impermanence, and incompleteness. It teaches us to find elegance in the simple and the flawed, to appreciate the transient nature of life, and to see the value in what is often overlooked. This philosophy encourages us to let go of the pressure to be flawless and instead find joy in the imperfect, fleeting moments that make life meaningful. Imperfection challenges us to redefine what success means. Instead of viewing it as the absence of flaws, we can see it as the presence of growth, connection, and authenticity. Success isn't about achieving a perfect outcome. It's about living fully, embracing challenges, and finding meaning in the journey. This shift in perspective allows us to pursue our goals with passion and purpose, free from the burden of unrealistic expectations. The idea that perfection is found in imperfection ultimately invites us to live more authentically. It encourages us to let go of masks, facades, and the need to prove ourselves. When we embrace our flaws and vulnerabilities, we step into our true selves, unfiltered and unapologetic. This authenticity not only liberates us, but also inspires others to do the same. It creates a ripple effect of courage and connection, showing that imperfection is not something to hide, but something to celebrate. In every crack, flaw, and imperfection lies a story, a lesson, and a unique beauty. By embracing imperfection, we open ourselves to a richer, more meaningful life, one that values growth over flawlessness, connection over appearances, and authenticity over pretense. It is in this acceptance that we find true perfection, not in the absence of flaws, but in the presence of life in its raw, unpolished, and beautiful form. Accepting imperfection invites us to embrace life as it is, unfinished, evolving, and deeply meaningful. But in a world driven by instant gratification and immediate results, the beauty of patience often gets overshadowed. Patience is not just waiting, it's an active, intentional state of allowing. It's the quiet strength that trusts in the process, the resilience to endure challenges without rushing the outcome, and the wisdom to recognize that growth takes time. Patience is not passive. It's a powerful force that transforms our experiences and deepens our connection to life itself. Patience begins with understanding that time is not our enemy. In the rush to achieve, resolve, or fix, we often view time as a barrier to our goals. But time is an essential ingredient in everything meaningful. A seed does not become a tree overnight. A relationship doesn't deepen without shared moments, and skills aren't mastered without practice. Patience allows us to honor the natural pace of growth, trusting that the best things in life unfold gradually, not all at once. When we cultivate patience, we also cultivate self-compassion. The rush to succeed often comes from a place of self-criticism, where we feel we must prove our worth through speed or efficiency. Patience, however, teaches us to be gentle with ourselves. It reminds us that progress is not always linear, and setbacks are not failures, but part of the journey. This self-compassion creates space for growth without the constant pressure to be perfect or fast. Patience transforms how we experience challenges. Instead of viewing difficulties as obstacles to overcome as quickly as possible, patience helps us see them as opportunities for learning and growth. It shifts our focus from the discomfort of the moment to the long-term value it brings. When we allow time to do its work, we often discover that the lessons learned through challenges are far more valuable than any quick fix could provide. In relationships, patience strengthens connections. Misunderstandings, disagreements, or disappointments are inevitable, but rushing to resolve them often leads to shallow solutions. Patience allows us to sit with discomfort, listen deeply, and respond with understanding rather than haste. It fosters trust and respect, creating a foundation for relationships that endure through difficulties and grow stronger over time. Patience also enhances creativity. When we rush to complete a task or reach an outcome, we often miss the subtle inspirations and possibilities that come with taking our time. Creativity thrives in the space between effort and rest, where ideas have the freedom to evolve. Patience allows us to linger in that space, exploring possibilities without the pressure of immediate results. This process often leads to more authentic and innovative outcomes. The practice of patience teaches us to embrace uncertainty. Life is unpredictable, and the need for control often creates anxiety and frustration. Patience doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it helps us navigate it with grace. It reminds us that not everything needs to be solved or understood right away, and that some answers only reveal themselves with time. This acceptance of uncertainty brings a sense of peace, allowing us to move through life with greater ease. Patience is deeply tied to trust. To be patient is to trust that the process will unfold as it's meant to, even if we can't see the end result. This trust doesn't mean passive waiting. It means taking consistent, intentional steps while leaving room for life's timing. Trusting the process allows us to focus on what we can do now rather than fixating on what's beyond our control. It shifts our energy from anxiety to action, creating a sense of empowerment and clarity. In a fast-paced world, patience often feels countercultural. We're surrounded by messages that glorify speed, efficiency, and instant results. But patience offers something far more enduring, a deep, unshakable sense of fulfillment. It allows us to savor the journey, finding joy in the small moments rather than rushing to the next milestone. This shift in perspective transforms not only how we approach our goals, but also how we experience life itself. Patience also fosters resilience. When we're patient, we're less likely to give up when things get tough. Instead of seeing setbacks as reasons to quit, we see them as temporary challenges that can be navigated with time and effort. This resilience strengthens our ability to persevere, even in the face of uncertainty or difficulty. It helps us stay committed to our goals, knowing that progress is often slow but always meaningful. Practicing patience deepens our sense of gratitude. When we stop rushing, we become more aware of the gifts already present in our lives. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what's here, creating a sense of contentment and abundance. This doesn't mean settling for less. It means appreciating the journey while continuing to grow. Gratitude and patience go hand in hand, each amplifying the other. Patience also transforms how we view time. Instead of seeing it as something to fight against, we begin to see it as an ally. Time becomes a partner in growth, healing, and discovery. This shift in perspective allows us to move through life with less stress and more peace, knowing that every moment contributes to the bigger picture. In the practice of patience, we learn the art of letting go. The need for immediate results often comes from a fear of losing control. But patience teaches us that control is an illusion. It invites us to release the need to force outcomes and instead trust in the process. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space for life to unfold in its own way. This surrender brings freedom and lightness, allowing us to move through life with greater ease. Patience also enhances our ability to be present. When we're constantly focused on the future, we miss the richness of the here and now. Patience brings us back to the present moment, reminding us that life is happening now, not later. This presence deepens our connection to ourselves, others, and the world around us. It allows us to experience life more fully, appreciating its beauty and complexity. The power of patience is perhaps most evident in its ability to transform how we measure success. When we're patient, success is no longer defined by how quickly we achieve something, but by the quality and depth of the journey. This redefinition creates a sense of fulfillment that isn't tied to external achievements, but rooted in personal growth, connection, and authenticity. Patience helps us see that true success is about who we become, not just what we accomplish. Patience also fosters wisdom. When we take the time to observe, reflect, and learn, we gain insights that aren't accessible in moments of haste. Wisdom grows in the pauses, in the spaces where we allow ourselves to listen and understand. This wisdom enriches every aspect of our lives, from decision-making to relationships to personal growth. It helps us navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. The practice of patience is a lifelong journey. It's not about achieving a perfect state of calm, but about continuously choosing to trust, wait, and allow. Each moment of patience strengthens our ability to face challenges, embrace uncertainty, and find joy in the process. It's a skill that deepens over time, shaping us into more resilient, compassionate, and grounded individuals. Patience is a quiet strength, a gentle yet powerful force that transforms how we experience life. It teaches us to trust the process, to savor the journey, and to find beauty in the unfolding of time. By allowing time to do its work, we discover that the best things in life cannot be rushed. They must be lived, moment by moment, with presence and grace. Through patience, we align ourselves with life's rhythm, creating a sense of harmony, peace, and fulfillment that endures. Patience teaches us to embrace the flow of life, trusting in its rhythm and finding peace in the journey. But even with patience, life is not without its challenges. Struggles arise, testing our resolve and pushing us to the edge of what we believe we can endure. While these moments often feel overwhelming, they hold a deeper truth. Struggle is not just hardship, it is an invitation to grow. The discomfort we experience during challenges is the fire that forges strength, resilience, and wisdom. Through struggle, we uncover parts of ourselves that would otherwise remain dormant. Struggles are not signs of failure, but opportunities for transformation. Much like how muscles grow stronger after being torn and rebuilt, personal growth often requires moments of tension and resistance. These moments challenge our limits, forcing us to confront discomfort and uncertainty. Growth isn't found in the absence of struggle. It's found in the way we respond to it. Each challenge we face is a chance to build our capacity for resilience, patience, and courage. One of the most profound aspects of struggle is how it shapes perspective. In the midst of hardship, it's easy to feel as though the world is closing in. But when we emerge on the other side, we often see how those moments expanded our view of life. Struggles teach us to appreciate the small joys we might otherwise overlook. They remind us of the strength we carry within and the value of persistence. Every challenge reshapes the way we see ourselves and the world, creating a more profound sense of gratitude and awareness. Struggles also reveal what truly matters. In times of difficulty, we're forced to strip away distractions and focus on what's essential. This clarity can be transformative, helping us prioritize our energy and align with our values. Struggles often act as mirrors, reflecting back what we might have ignored or taken for granted. They provide an opportunity to reconnect with our core beliefs and reassess what brings meaning to our lives. In the process of growth through struggle, we often discover strengths we didn't know we had. Adversity has a way of awakening dormant abilities and talents. Whether it's resourcefulness, emotional resilience, or creative problem-solving, struggles push us to access parts of ourselves that would remain hidden in comfort. These moments remind us of our ability to adapt and rise above challenges, reinforcing our confidence in facing future obstacles. Struggles deepen our empathy for others. Experiencing hardship allows us to understand the pain and difficulties others may be going through. This understanding fosters compassion, making us more patient, supportive, and kind. The shared experience of struggle creates a connection that transcends differences, reminding us of our shared humanity. In many ways, our struggles become bridges, connecting us to others through empathy and understanding. Struggles also teach us the value of perseverance. In moments of hardship, the temptation to give up can be overwhelming. But when we push through, we discover that persistence often leads to breakthroughs. Each step forward, no matter how small, builds momentum and reinforces our belief in our ability to overcome. Perseverance is not about never stumbling. It's about continuing to move forward, even when the path feels impossible. This tenacity becomes a cornerstone of personal growth, shaping a mindset of determination and resilience. The process of struggling often reveals the importance of mindset. How we perceive challenges significantly impacts how we navigate them. Viewing struggles as insurmountable obstacles can lead to despair, while seeing them as opportunities for growth fosters resilience. This mindset shift doesn't minimize the pain or difficulty of struggles. It reframes them as meaningful experiences that contribute to our development. Cultivating this perspective allows us to approach challenges with curiosity and hope rather than fear. Struggles also remind us of the importance of support. While growth often feels deeply personal, it's rarely achieved in isolation. Turning to others for help, whether through advice, encouragement, or shared experience, can provide the strength needed to keep moving forward. Struggles teach us to value our connections and lean on the people who care for us. This reliance is not a weakness, but a reminder that we are not alone in our journey. One of the most powerful lessons of struggle is how it fosters self-awareness. Adversity forces us to confront our fears, insecurities, and limitations. These moments of reflection can be uncomfortable, but they're also transformative. By facing our inner challenges, we gain a deeper understanding of who we are and what we're capable of. This self-awareness is the foundation for meaningful growth, allowing us to navigate life with greater clarity and purpose. Struggles teach us to embrace uncertainty. Life rarely goes according to plan, and challenges often arise unexpectedly. While it's natural to seek control and predictability, struggles remind us that uncertainty is an inherent part of life. Learning to navigate this uncertainty with grace and adaptability is a skill that strengthens over time. It allows us to approach challenges with an open mind and a willingness to explore new possibilities. Growth through struggle often requires letting go of perfectionism. The desire for everything to go smoothly can create unnecessary stress and frustration. Struggles remind us that life is not perfect, and neither are we. Embracing imperfection allows us to focus on progress rather than unrealistic ideals. This shift in perspective creates space for growth, allowing us to learn from mistakes and celebrate small victories along the way. Struggles also encourage us to find meaning in adversity. While challenges are inherently difficult, they often hold lessons that become clear with time. Whether it's a newfound strength, a deeper connection with others, or a clearer sense of purpose, struggles leave us with insights that shape our journey. Finding meaning in adversity doesn't diminish the pain. It transforms it into a source of wisdom and growth. The process of growth through struggle is deeply humbling. It reminds us of our limitations and the unpredictability of life. But this humility is not a weakness, it's a strength. It grounds us, making us more open to learning and more willing to adapt. Humility allows us to approach challenges with a sense of curiosity rather than pride, creating a mindset that welcomes growth rather than resisting it. Struggles also teach us to value resilience. Resilience is not the absence of struggle. It's the ability to recover and keep moving forward despite challenges. Each time we overcome an obstacle, our resilience grows stronger, reinforcing our belief in our ability to navigate future difficulties. This inner strength becomes a wellspring of confidence, reminding us that we are capable of facing whatever life brings. Through struggles, we learn to appreciate the journey rather than fixating solely on the outcome. Challenges often force us to slow down, reflect, and engage with the present moment. This shift in focus allows us to find joy and meaning in the process, even when the path is difficult. It reminds us that growth is not just about reaching a destination, but about the experiences and lessons gained along the way. Struggles also cultivate gratitude. While it may be hard to feel thankful in the midst of hardship, challenges often highlight the blessings we might otherwise overlook. They remind us of our strength, our support systems, and the small moments of joy that sustain us. Gratitude shifts our perspective, allowing us to see struggles not as burdens, but as opportunities for growth and discovery. Struggles remind us of our interconnectedness. No one navigates life without challenges, and recognizing this shared experience creates a sense of unity. Our struggles are not unique. They are part of the human condition. This understanding fosters compassion, connection, and a sense of belonging. It reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone. The power of struggle lies not in the difficulty itself, but in the transformation it brings. Each challenge shapes us, strengthens us, and teaches us to see life through a lens of resilience, gratitude, and growth. Through struggle, we find not only strength, but also the deeper meaning and purpose that enrich our lives. Struggle reveals our strength and shapes our growth, but it also teaches us an invaluable lesson about balance, how force, when misapplied, can upset even the most stable foundation. Picture a bowl filled with water. A gentle touch leaves the surface undisturbed, calm, and reflective. Yet, the moment we act with force, the water ripples chaotically, spilling over the edges, losing its harmony. This simple image mirrors life itself. The harder we push against situations, people, or even ourselves, the more we disrupt the delicate balance we seek. The bowl of water becomes a profound metaphor, reminding us that peace and progress often emerge not from force, but from gentleness, patience, and aligned action. Forcing a situation creates resistance. In relationships, work, or personal goals, the harder we try to control every detail, the more elusive success becomes. It's as though the energy we expend in forcing something disrupts the natural flow of events. Life, like water in the bowl, responds best to intention paired with ease. This doesn't mean we should stop striving. Rather, it means we must align our efforts with balance, trusting that some outcomes are better nurtured than forced. When we let go of the need to impose our will, we allow life to unfold as it should. Balance is found in learning to apply just the right amount of effort. Overexertion leads to exhaustion and frustration, while too little effort results in stagnation. Like the bowl of water, balance lies in a steady hand, a measured approach that respects the natural rhythm of things. Whether it's a professional goal, a creative pursuit, or personal growth, balance allows us to progress steadily without disrupting the harmony we're trying to achieve. Force disrupts not only external situations, but also our internal state. Pushing too hard often leads to stress, anxiety, and burnout. It creates tension within us, much like ripples disturbing the calm water. When we approach challenges with force, we lose clarity and make decisions driven by urgency rather than wisdom. By softening our approach, we restore inner peace and make space for clearer, more thoughtful actions. The calmer our internal state, the more effectively we can navigate life's complexities. Balance requires mindfulness. The bowl of water reflects the state of our minds, calm when we are present and turbulent when we are consumed by worry or impatience. To keep the water still, we must cultivate awareness of our thoughts and actions. Mindfulness allows us to respond to situations with care, avoiding the knee-jerk reactions that disrupt balance. It helps us recognize when we're acting out of force rather than alignment, enabling us to adjust and find harmony. In relationships, force often manifests as control or manipulation. Trying to change others or dictate outcomes rarely leads to genuine connection or understanding. Instead, it creates resistance and erodes trust. The bowl of water reminds us that relationships thrive on respect, patience, and mutual effort. Allowing others to grow and evolve at their own pace fosters deeper bonds than trying to force change. Balance in relationships means supporting without imposing, listening without judging, and loving without conditions. The concept of balance extends to our goals and aspirations. Chasing success with relentless force often leads to diminishing returns. The harder we push, the more we risk losing sight of why we began the journey in the first place. Balance teaches us to approach our goals with intention and steadiness, celebrating progress without obsessing over perfection. Like tending to a delicate plant, growth requires consistent care, not excessive force. The bowl of water reminds us to honor the process, trusting that steady effort will lead to meaningful results. Balance also requires adaptability. Life is dynamic, and maintaining harmony often means adjusting to changing circumstances. The bowl of water shifts with every movement, yet it remains contained and whole. Similarly, we must learn to flow with life's changes without losing our sense of stability. Adaptability allows us to respond to challenges with resilience, finding new paths when obstacles arise. It teaches us that balance is not rigid but fluid, evolving as we grow. Force often stems from fear of losing control, fear of failure, or fear of the unknown. This fear drives us to act impulsively, disrupting the balance we seek. The bowl of water invites us to confront these fears with gentleness and curiosity. When we acknowledge our fears without letting them dictate our actions, we create space for growth and understanding. Balance is achieved not by eliminating fear, but by learning to coexist with it, letting it inform us without overwhelming us. The metaphor of the bowl of water also highlights the importance of rest. Just as the water needs stillness to regain its calm, we too need moments of pause to restore our energy and clarity. Overworking or pushing ourselves constantly disrupts this balance, leading to physical and emotional exhaustion. Rest is not a sign of weakness, but an essential part of maintaining harmony. It allows us to return to our efforts with renewed focus and vitality. Balance involves recognizing when to act and when to step back. There are moments in life when action is necessary, But there are also times when stepping back allows things to unfold naturally. The bowl of water teaches us to discern these moments, trusting that sometimes less is more. Patience and trust go hand in hand with balance, reminding us that not every situation requires immediate intervention or forceful effort. In creativity and problem-solving, force often stifles innovation. The more we try to force ideas or solutions, the harder they become to find. Balance encourages us to approach challenges with openness and curiosity, creating space for inspiration to emerge. The most innovative solutions often arise when we step back, allowing our minds to explore freely without the pressure of force. Creativity thrives in a balanced state, where effort meets ease. The bowl of water also symbolizes the importance of boundaries. Just as the bowl provides structure for the water, boundaries provide structure for our lives. Without boundaries, our energy becomes scattered, and our balance is disrupted. Setting clear boundaries allows us to focus on what truly matters, protecting our time and energy from unnecessary demands. Boundaries are not barriers. They are tools for maintaining harmony and alignment. Balance fosters resilience. When we approach life with a balanced mindset, we're better equipped to handle setbacks and challenges. Force often leads to frustration when things don't go as planned, but balance allows us to adapt and persevere. It reminds us that progress is not always linear and that setbacks are part of the journey. Resilience grows when we trust the process and remain steady, even in the face of uncertainty. The bowl of water also teaches us about presence. Balance is found in the here and now, not in dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. When we are fully present, we can respond to life with clarity and intention, maintaining harmony in our actions and decisions. Presence allows us to appreciate the journey, finding joy and meaning in each moment, rather than rushing toward the next. Force disrupts balance, but gentleness restores it. The bowl of water serves as a constant reminder that life flows best when approached with care, patience, and respect for its natural rhythm. By letting go of force and embracing balance, we create space for growth, connection, and peace. This shift transforms not only how we navigate challenges, but also how we experience the beauty and richness of life itself. Gentleness over force shows us that balance lies in thoughtful action, not in overpowering control. But what happens when effort alone is not enough? When striving harder doesn't bring the target closer? The wisdom of the archer holds the answer. An archer does not succeed by forcefully pulling the bowstring or focusing solely on hitting the target. Their secret lies in skill, developed through practice, patience, and precision, and in trust. They trust their preparation, their body's alignment, and their inner calm to guide the arrow. This profound lesson teaches us that trusting skill over raw effort often leads to better outcomes, both in archery and in life. Skill, unlike brute effort, is a cultivated art. It is not about the intensity of your actions, but their refinement. The archer doesn't simply pull the bowstring with all their might. They understand the balance of tension and release, knowing that excessive force will compromise accuracy. This principle applies across all areas of life. Skill requires deliberate practice, observation, and the patience to refine techniques. It's the difference between working smart and working hard. Effort alone, without the guidance of skill, can lead to burnout and missed opportunities. Trusting skill requires confidence in your preparation. An archer doesn't succeed by second-guessing themselves as they release the arrow. They trust the countless hours spent practicing their aim, perfecting their stance, and understanding the bow. Similarly, in life, trust comes from knowing you've done the work to prepare. It's about focusing on what's within your control, your actions, habits, and mindset, rather than obsessing over outcomes. This trust creates a sense of calm, which is essential for precision and clarity. The secret of the archer lies in their ability to stay present. Their focus is not on the target itself, but on the process of the shot, drawing the bow, steadying their breath, and releasing with intention. This mindfulness ensures that every action is deliberate and aligned. When we apply this approach to our goals, we shift our attention from obsessing over results to mastering the steps that lead to them. Being present allows us to engage fully, avoiding the distractions of fear, doubt, or impatience. Trusting skill over effort also involves embracing flow. The archer's movements are fluid, almost effortless, because they have become second nature. Flow is not about forcing yourself into a state of productivity. It's about aligning with your abilities and focusing deeply on the task at hand. In this state, time seems to slow down, and your actions feel natural and effective. Achieving flow requires both preparation and letting go of the need to control every detail. It's a balance of discipline and trust. Patience is integral to developing skill. The archer doesn't achieve mastery overnight. Each practice session, each missed shot, and each adjustment adds to their expertise. Patience allows us to see mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to learn and improve. It's through this gradual process that skill becomes instinctive. When we embrace patience, we free ourselves from the pressure of immediate results, allowing us to focus on the long-term growth that truly matters. The archer also teaches us the value of calm under pressure. No matter how skilled they are, their performance can be derailed by anxiety or haste. Maintaining composure is key to hitting the target. In life, challenges and high-pressure situations test our ability to remain calm. Trusting our skill means knowing we've prepared for these moments and allowing that preparation to guide us. Calmness brings clarity, enabling us to make thoughtful decisions even in difficult circumstances. Precision over power is another core lesson of the archer. They understand that accuracy depends on careful alignment, not on sheer strength. In the same way, success in life often comes from small, intentional actions rather than grand, forceful gestures. Precision requires focus and attention to detail. It's about doing fewer things with greater purpose and impact, rather than spreading your energy thin across too many efforts. Trusting skill over effort also means letting go of perfectionism. The archer knows that not every shot will hit the bullseye, but they don't let this discourage them. They focus on consistency and improvement rather than unattainable perfection. Perfectionism often leads to hesitation and fear of failure, which can paralyze progress. When we shift our focus to growth and mastery, we allow ourselves the freedom to experiment, adapt, and ultimately succeed. The secret of the archer is also a lesson in surrender. Once the arrow is released, its path is no longer in the archer's control. They must trust that their preparation and skill will guide it. This surrender is a powerful act of faith, not in external forces, but in their own abilities. In life, surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing when to step back and let things unfold. It's the balance between effort and acceptance, knowing when to act and when to let go. Alignment is another crucial aspect of the archer's success. Every part of their body, from their stance to their grip, must be in harmony for the shot to succeed. This alignment reflects the importance of coherence in our own lives. When our actions align with our values and goals, we create a sense of purpose and direction. Misalignment, on the other hand, leads to confusion and inefficiency. Trusting skill over effort requires us to regularly assess whether we're aligned with what truly matters. The archer's focus is unwavering. Distractions are inevitable, but they know how to tune them out and concentrate fully on the task at hand. This level of focus is essential in a world filled with noise and competing demands. Trusting skill over effort means giving your full attention to the present moment, avoiding the temptation to multitask or rush. Deep focus allows us to channel our energy effectively, enhancing the quality of our actions. The archer also exemplifies the power of rhythm. Their movements follow a natural cadence, with each step flowing seamlessly into the next. This rhythm is not forced, it's intuitive, guided by their understanding of the bow and their own body. In life, finding your rhythm means working in harmony with your natural energy and abilities. It's about recognizing when to push forward and when to pause, creating a sustainable pace that supports long-term success. Trusting skill over effort fosters resilience. The archer doesn't give up after a missed shot. They adjust, learn, and try again. This resilience is built through experience and a commitment to improvement. In our own lives, setbacks and failures are inevitable, but they don't define us. What matters is how we respond, whether we choose to learn and grow or let obstacles hold us back. Resilience transforms challenges into stepping stones, strengthening our resolve and sharpening our skills. The archer's discipline is another key to their success. They practice regularly, even when progress feels slow or frustrating. This discipline builds consistency, which is the foundation of mastery. Trusting skill over effort means committing to the process, even when results aren't immediate. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and trusting that each step contributes to long-term growth. Ultimately, the secret of the archer is about balance. It's the delicate interplay between effort and ease, discipline and trust, action and surrender. By focusing on skill rather than force, the archer achieves a state of harmony that allows them to perform at their best. This balance is not limited to archery. It applies to every aspect of life. Whether in relationships, career, or personal growth, trusting skill over effort leads to greater clarity, fulfillment, and success. The wisdom of the archer reminds us that life is not a battle to be won through sheer force, but an art to be mastered through patience, practice, and trust. It's about aligning our efforts with our intentions, letting go of what we can't control, and focusing on the process rather than the outcome. By embracing this approach, we find not only success, but also a deeper sense of peace and purpose in everything we do. Trusting skill over effort teaches us that mastery comes from a balance of preparation, focus, and surrender. But as we let go of force and lean into precision, another deeper challenge emerges: the illusion of control. We often believe that if we try hard enough, plan carefully, and anticipate every variable, we can control outcomes, circumstances, and even people. This belief feels comforting, but it creates tension, frustration, and disappointment when life unfolds differently than we expected. To grow and find peace, we must learn to release this grip of expectations and see control for what it truly is, an illusion that limits our freedom and joy. Control gives the illusion of security. We think that if we plan every step and account for every possibility, we can avoid pain, failure, or uncertainty. But life doesn't operate on predictable terms. Trying to control every detail not only drains our energy, but also blinds us to the unexpected opportunities that arise when we allow things to unfold naturally. Releasing the need for control doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing that some things are beyond our influence and trusting the flow of life instead of fighting against it. Expectations are often at the heart of the illusion of control. We create mental images of how things should be, how relationships should work, how success should look, how others should behave. When reality doesn't match these expectations, we feel frustration, disappointment, or even resentment. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean lowering standards. It means being open to what is, rather than fixating on what we think should be. This openness allows us to engage with life authentically, free from the rigid structures of preconceived outcomes. The desire to control is deeply rooted in fear of uncertainty, failure, or loss. By clinging to control, we attempt to shield ourselves from these fears, but in doing so, we create even more anxiety. The tighter we hold on, the more we feel the weight of what we can't control. Releasing the grip of control is not about eliminating fear, but about learning to live with it in a healthy way. It's about acknowledging fear without letting it dictate our actions or perspective. In relationships, the illusion of control often manifests as attempts to change or manage others. We may think that by guiding or influencing their decisions, we're helping them or improving the relationship. But control breeds resistance, not connection. True connection comes from acceptance, allowing others to be who they are without trying to mold them into our expectations. This acceptance creates space for genuine understanding and trust, strengthening relationships in ways that control never could. Letting go of control requires trust in ourselves, in others, and in the process of life. This trust doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or effort. It means doing our best while accepting that the outcome is not entirely in our hands. Trusting the process allows us to focus on the present moment rather than obsessing over future uncertainties. It frees us from the mental burden of trying to predict and manage every possible outcome. The illusion of control also affects how we view success. We often equate success with achieving specific goals or meeting certain benchmarks, believing that we must tightly manage every aspect of our journey to get there. But true success is not about controlling the path. It's about finding meaning and fulfillment along the way. When we release the need to control, we become more adaptable and open to new opportunities, redefining success in a way that aligns with our values and inner peace. One of the most liberating aspects of letting go of control is the freedom it brings. When we stop trying to force outcomes, we create space for creativity, spontaneity, and joy. Life becomes less about chasing perfection and more about experiencing the richness of the present moment. This freedom allows us to approach challenges with curiosity rather than resistance, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. Releasing control also teaches us about humility. The belief that we can control everything is rooted in ego, the idea that we are the center of the universe and that our plans must prevail. Letting go of this illusion humbles us, reminding us that we are part of a larger, interconnected whole. This humility fosters gratitude as we begin to see life's unpredictability not as a threat, but as a gift that brings depth and richness to our experiences. The illusion of control often leads to burnout. The constant effort to manage every detail, anticipate every risk, and meet every expectation is exhausting. Letting go of control allows us to redirect our energy toward what truly matters. It teaches us to prioritize rest, self-care, and meaningful connections over the relentless pursuit of control. This shift not only improves our well-being, but also enhances our effectiveness in the areas that matter most. Letting go of control also deepens our resilience. When we stop resisting life's uncertainties, we become better equipped to handle them. Resilience grows when we embrace change, adapt to new circumstances, and trust our ability to navigate challenges. This adaptability is a powerful antidote to the rigidity that comes with the illusion of control. It allows us to thrive in the face of adversity, turning setbacks into stepping stones. One of the most profound lessons of releasing control is the peace it brings. The illusion of control creates a constant state of tension, an inner tug-of-war between what we want and what is. Letting go of this struggle allows us to find peace in the present moment. It frees us from the need to constantly fix, manage, or perfect, creating a sense of ease and contentment that transcends circumstances. Releasing the grip of expectations also enhances our creativity. When we let go of rigid plans and open ourselves to new possibilities, we create space for innovation and inspiration. Creativity thrives in an environment of openness and curiosity, free from the constraints of control. This openness allows us to explore new ideas, take risks, and discover solutions that might not have been visible within the confines of our original expectations. Letting go of control doesn't mean abandoning effort or responsibility. It means aligning our actions with what we can influence while releasing attachment to the outcome. This balance between effort and surrender is where true empowerment lies. It allows us to act with intention and clarity, unburdened by the fear of failure or the need for constant validation. The process of releasing control also deepens our self-awareness. It requires us to examine why we feel the need to control and what fears or insecurities drive this behavior. This introspection helps us understand ourselves on a deeper level, uncovering the patterns and beliefs that shape our actions. With this awareness, we can begin to replace control with trust, fear with courage, and rigidity with flexibility. The beauty of letting go is that it allows life to surprise us. When we release our grip on expectations, we become open to the unexpected gifts and opportunities that life has to offer. These moments often bring more joy and meaning than anything we could have planned or controlled. Letting go doesn't mean settling for less. It means creating space for more growth, more connection, and more fulfillment. The illusion of control is a powerful force, but it is not unbreakable. By recognizing its limitations and embracing the unpredictability of life, we can free ourselves from its constraints. Letting go of control is not an act of defeat. It is an act of liberation. It allows us to live more fully, love more deeply, and approach life with a sense of wonder and trust that transcends our fears and doubts. Through this release, we discover a peace and freedom that no amount of control could ever provide. Releasing the grip of expectations opens the door to a calmer, freer existence. Yet, there's something deeper that keeps pulling us back into patterns of clinging. Obsession. Obsession disguises itself as passion or commitment, but its weight is unmistakable. It binds us to outcomes, traps us in cycles of overthinking, and drains us of peace. The journey from obsession to freedom is not about losing care or drive. It's about shedding the unnecessary weight that holds us back. It's about learning the art of letting go, not as an act of surrender, but as a pathway to transformation and liberation. Obsession creates a prison of its own design. It thrives on attachment, convincing us that we must hold tighter, do more, or think harder to achieve what we desire. Whether it's in relationships, ambitions, or even our self-image, obsession narrows our vision and consumes our energy. It keeps us in a constant state of tension, as if our happiness depends entirely on controlling a single aspect of life. Letting go, however, breaks these chains. It allows us to step back, see the bigger picture, and rediscover the joy and clarity that obsession clouds. Freedom begins with recognizing the difference between healthy passion and obsessive attachment. Passion fuels us, inspiring us to pursue goals and invest in what matters most. Obsession, on the other hand, becomes a form of control, an unrelenting need for things to unfold in a specific way. Letting go does not mean abandoning passion. It means allowing it to flow without becoming entangled in outcomes. When we let go, passion transforms into a source of inspiration rather than a source of stress. Letting go requires trust, not only in the process, but also in ourselves. Obsession often stems from a lack of trust, a fear that without constant effort or vigilance, everything will fall apart. This fear keeps us clinging to what we think we need, even when it's no longer serving us. Trusting ourselves means believing in our ability to adapt, grow, and navigate life's uncertainties. It means knowing that we are capable of handling challenges, even when things don't go as planned. Freedom from obsession also involves embracing impermanence. Obsession clings to the idea of permanence, attempting to freeze moments, relationships, or achievements in time. But life is fluid, and trying to hold on too tightly only creates resistance. Letting go allows us to flow with life's changes rather than fighting against them. It teaches us to appreciate the beauty of each moment without the need to possess or control it. The transformational power of letting go lies in its ability to create space. Obsession fills our minds with endless thoughts, worries, and what-ifs, leaving little room for creativity, joy, or peace. Letting go clears this mental clutter, making way for new opportunities and perspectives. It shifts our focus from what we fear losing to what we stand to gain: clarity, connection, and a deeper sense of fulfillment. Letting go is not a single act, but a practice. Obsession has a way of creeping back in, convincing us to revisit old fears or habits. The practice of letting go involves recognizing these patterns and gently redirecting our energy. It's about learning to detach without disconnecting, to care deeply without clinging. This practice builds resilience, teaching us to face challenges with grace rather than resistance. One of the most profound effects of letting go is the sense of lightness it brings. Obsession weighs us down, creating a constant sense of pressure or urgency. Letting go lifts this burden, allowing us to move through life with greater ease. This lightness doesn't mean a lack of responsibility. It means approaching life with a sense of balance and perspective. It allows us to focus on what truly matters while releasing the rest. Letting go also transforms our relationships. Obsession often creates expectations and demands that strain connections. We may try to control how others think, feel, or behave, believing that this will lead to better outcomes. But true connection comes from acceptance, not control. Letting go means allowing others to be themselves, free from the weight of our expectations. This acceptance fosters trust, understanding, and deeper intimacy. In the context of personal growth, letting go is an act of self-compassion. Obsession with self-improvement can lead to harsh self-criticism and a relentless pursuit of perfection. Letting go doesn't mean giving up on growth. It means approaching it with kindness and patience. It's about embracing who we are in the present moment while striving for growth in a balanced way. This self-compassion creates a foundation for authentic, sustainable change. Letting go also deepens our ability to enjoy the present moment. Obsession often pulls us into the future, fixating on what might happen, or into the past, dwelling on what has already occurred. This robs us of the richness of the here and now. Letting go anchors us in the present, allowing us to fully experience life as it unfolds. It reminds us that joy is found not in what we achieve, but in how we live each moment. Freedom from obsession requires courage. Letting go means stepping into the unknown, releasing what feels familiar or safe. It's natural to fear this uncertainty, but it's also where transformation begins. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. Letting go teaches us to trust this process, knowing that the unknown holds possibilities we can't yet see. Letting go also cultivates gratitude. When we stop clinging to what we think we need, we become more aware of what we already have. Gratitude shifts our focus from lack to abundance, creating a sense of contentment and peace. This doesn't mean settling for less. It means appreciating the journey while remaining open to what comes next. Gratitude and letting go hand in hand, each amplifying the other. The process of letting go is deeply transformative because it changes how we define success and fulfillment. Obsession often ties these concepts to external outcomes, achieving goals, gaining approval, or meeting expectations. Letting go shifts our focus inward, helping us find fulfillment in the process rather than the result. It reminds us that success is not about controlling life, but about living it fully and authentically. Letting go also strengthens our resilience. Obsession creates fragility as it ties our sense of worth or happiness to specific outcomes. Letting go, on the other hand, builds inner strength by teaching us to adapt and thrive regardless of circumstances. Resilience is not about avoiding challenges, but about navigating them with grace and confidence. Letting go allows us to move forward without being held back by fear or attachment. The journey from obsession to freedom is not always easy, but it is deeply rewarding. It requires us to confront our fears, question our assumptions, and embrace the unknown. But in doing so, it opens the door to a life that is lighter, freer, and more aligned with our true selves. Letting go is not an end. It is a beginning, a way of living that prioritizes peace, connection, and authenticity over the illusion of control. The transformational power of letting go lies in its ability to change not just our actions, but our perspective. It shifts how we see ourselves, our relationships, and the world around us. It teaches us that freedom is not something we achieve by holding on, but something we discover when we release. Letting go is not a loss. It is a gift, an invitation to live with more clarity, purpose, and joy. Through this practice, we move from a life defined by obsession to one filled with the profound freedom of simply being. Letting go transforms obsession into freedom, teaching us to release the unnecessary weight we carry and find clarity in simplicity. But within this transformation lies a subtle yet profound distinction that often confuses even the most self-aware: the difference between caring and clinging. Both stem from attachment, but one nurtures and uplifts, while the other constrains and stifles. To care deeply is an act of love and respect, while clinging is born of fear and insecurity. Understanding this distinction is essential for fostering healthier relationships, making balanced decisions and embracing life with greater ease. Caring comes from a place of abundance. It is rooted in genuine connection, compassion, and a desire to contribute positively to something or someone. Clinging, however, arises from scarcity. It is driven by the fear of loss, a need for control, and an underlying sense of insecurity. When we cling, we attach our happiness to external things, believing that we cannot be complete without them. Caring, on the other hand, recognizes that while we value others or certain outcomes, our worth and inner peace are not dependent on them. In relationships, caring allows space for growth, individuality, and freedom. It encourages mutual respect and support, creating a foundation for trust and connection. Clinging, in contrast, leads to possessiveness and dependency. It manifests as a constant need for reassurance or control, often suffocating the very bond it seeks to preserve. True care allows love to flow freely, while clinging binds it with expectations and demands. Caring is about presence. It means being fully engaged in the moment, offering your attention and energy without expecting anything in return. Clinging, however, is future-focused. It constantly worries about what might happen, creating a sense of unease and tension. When we care, we give freely. When we cling, we seek to secure something for ourselves. This subtle shift in mindset has a profound impact on how we experience and nurture connections. Letting go of clinging requires trust. Clinging stems from a lack of trust, both in ourselves and in the natural flow of life. It tries to hold on tightly, fearing that without constant effort or vigilance, everything will fall apart. Caring, however, trusts in the strength of the bond or the process. It understands that genuine connections and meaningful outcomes don't require force. Trust allows us to release the need to control and simply show up with authenticity and love. Caring also involves boundaries. While clinging seeks to merge and control, caring respects the individuality of others. It understands that true connection doesn't mean losing oneself in another person, but rather sharing a part of oneself while honoring the other's autonomy. Boundaries are not walls, but guidelines that protect the integrity of both individuals and the relationship itself. They allow care to flourish without crossing into dependency. Clinging often creates fear-based behavior. It leads to overthinking, excessive worry, and actions driven by anxiety rather than clarity. Caring, by contrast, is grounded in confidence. It recognizes that while we cannot control everything, we can still contribute positively and respond thoughtfully. This shift from fear to confidence transforms how we navigate challenges and uncertainties in our relationships and pursuits. Caring allows for acceptance. It acknowledges and respects the reality of what is, without trying to force it into an idealized version. Clinging, on the other hand, resists acceptance. It tries to bend reality to fit expectations, creating frustration and disappointment when things don't go as planned. By practicing care without clinging, we learn to embrace life as it unfolds, finding peace in both its beauty and imperfections. The energy of caring is expansive. It uplifts and nurtures, creating an environment where growth and connection thrive. Clinging, however, is restrictive. It narrows focus, creating a sense of tension and confinement. When we shift from clinging to caring, we not only enhance our relationships, but also free ourselves from the emotional weight of constant worry and control. Caring fosters gratitude. It appreciates what is, valuing the moments, connections, and experiences we have. Clinging, on the other hand, focuses on what might be lost or what is lacking. This focus on scarcity diminishes our ability to feel grateful, replacing it with a sense of fear or dissatisfaction. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to clinging, reminding us of the abundance already present in our lives. Clinging often leads to burnout. The constant effort to hold on tightly to relationships, outcomes, or even self-image drains our emotional and mental energy. Caring, however, is sustainable. It allows us to give without depleting ourselves because it comes from a place of balance and mutual respect. Learning to care without clinging ensures that our energy is directed toward what truly matters, without overwhelming ourselves in the process. Understanding the difference between caring and clinging also transforms how we approach challenges. Clinging creates resistance, making it harder to adapt when things don't go as expected. Caring, however, allows for flexibility. It accepts that setbacks and changes are part of life, approaching them with an open mind and a willingness to adjust. This adaptability is key to maintaining balance and resilience in the face of uncertainty. Caring is rooted in love, while clinging is rooted in fear. Love nurtures, empowers, and uplifts, while fear constricts and limits. By shifting from clinging to caring, we move from a mindset of scarcity to one of abundance. This shift not only improves our relationships, but also enhances our overall well-being, as we let go of the constant tension and worry that clinging creates. Letting go of clinging doesn't mean letting go of connection or commitment. It means releasing the unhealthy attachment that creates dependency and control. Caring deeply is still possible and even more meaningful when it's free from the constraints of clinging. It allows us to show up fully, engage authentically, and connect in ways that are both freeing and fulfilling. Caring versus clinging also shapes how we view ourselves. Clinging often stems from a fear of inadequacy, believing that our worth is tied to external validation or outcomes. Caring, on the other hand, comes from a place of self-assurance. It recognizes our inherent value and allows us to contribute to others without losing ourselves in the process. This self-assurance creates a foundation for healthy, balanced connections. Caring embraces flow, while clinging resists it. Life is ever-changing, and clinging tries to hold on to what feels safe or certain. Caring, however, moves with life's rhythm, adapting to its ebbs and flows. This flexibility not only reduces stress, but also allows us to experience life more fully, finding joy in its dynamic and unpredictable nature. The journey from clinging to caring is one of liberation. It frees us from the fear-driven need to control and allows us to engage with life and others from a place of love and trust. It transforms how we give, how we connect, and how we experience the world around us. Caring deeply without clinging is not just a shift in behavior, it's a shift in perspective, one that brings greater peace, fulfillment, and freedom. When we begin to understand the difference between caring and clinging, we uncover a profound sense of clarity. Yet, even with this newfound perspective, life often stirs up turbulent waters, moments of chaos, inner restlessness, or overwhelming emotions. These waters, unsettled by external pressures or internal conflicts, can feel impossible to calm. However, the secret lies not in forcing them to still, but in allowing calmness to settle naturally. Like a pond stirred by the wind, stillness arises when the wind subsides, not by pressing down on the surface. Life's turbulence, too, requires a shift in approach, a balance of patience, mindfulness, and surrender. Calmness begins with acceptance. Turbulence often intensifies when we resist it, trying to push away uncomfortable feelings or fix chaotic situations immediately. This resistance creates friction, much like thrashing in water, only pulls us further under. Acceptance, however, allows us to float. By acknowledging the reality of our emotions or circumstances without judgment, we create space for calmness to emerge. Acceptance is not passive. It's an active decision to be present with what is, rather than being consumed by what we wish it were. In moments of turbulence, stillness often requires slowing down. Chaos has a way of speeding up our thoughts and actions, pulling us into a spiral of overthinking or hurried decisions. Slowing down disrupts this momentum, grounding us in the present moment. Breathing deeply, pausing before reacting, or simply taking a moment to observe our surroundings helps to anchor us. These small acts of mindfulness remind us that calmness is not something we create through effort, but something we allow to arise when we step back. Letting calmness settle also involves detachment. Turbulence often stems from our attachment to outcomes, whether it's a desire for control, approval, or resolution. Detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means releasing the emotional weight tied to a specific outcome. When we detach, we free ourselves from the need to force a solution, trusting that clarity and resolution will come in their own time. This detachment creates a sense of freedom, allowing us to navigate turbulent waters with greater ease. Calmness is deeply connected to perspective. In the midst of chaos, our vision narrows, focusing only on the problem at hand. This tunnel vision amplifies the sense of turbulence, making challenges feel larger and more overwhelming than they truly are. Expanding our perspective by stepping back mentally, seeking advice or considering the bigger picture, reduces the intensity of the moment. Perspective reminds us that turbulence is temporary, a passing wave rather than a permanent state. Nature offers profound lessons in calmness. A river flows steadily despite obstacles, finding its way around rocks and bends without resistance. The wind eventually dies down, and the sea returns to stillness. These natural rhythms remind us that turbulence is a part of life's flow, not an aberration. By aligning ourselves with this rhythm, allowing time and space for calmness to return, we learn to trust the process rather than force solutions. This trust is a cornerstone of inner peace. In relationships, calmness arises through understanding. Turbulent interactions often stem from misunderstandings, unspoken expectations, or emotional reactivity. Practicing active listening, showing empathy, and pausing before responding helps to de-escalate conflict. Understanding doesn't require agreement. It simply means recognizing the other person's perspective without defensiveness. This approach creates an environment where calmness can replace tension, fostering healthier and more meaningful connections. Calmness also requires self-awareness. Turbulence often mirrors our internal state, unresolved emotions, unmet needs, or habitual patterns of thought. By turning inward and reflecting on what's driving our reactions, we uncover the root of our discomfort. Self-awareness helps us respond rather than react, shifting from impulsive actions to thoughtful choices. This internal clarity creates a ripple effect, bringing calmness to both our inner and outer worlds. Letting calmness settle naturally involves cultivating patience. Turbulent waters don't clear instantly. They require time for the sediment to sink and the surface to smooth. Patience teaches us to sit with discomfort without rushing to escape or resolve it. This waiting period, though challenging, often brings unexpected insights or solutions. Patience is not passive. It's an active trust in the process of life, knowing that stillness will return if we allow it. Calmness is strengthened by rituals. Daily practices such as meditation, journaling, or spending time in nature create a foundation of stability, even during turbulent times. These rituals act as anchors, grounding us when life feels chaotic. They remind us that calmness is not something we need to seek externally, but something we can cultivate within. Consistency in these practices reinforces our ability to navigate turbulence with grace and resilience. Turbulent waters often reveal the power of surrender. Trying to fight the current only exhausts us, while surrendering allows us to conserve energy and regain clarity. Surrender is not about giving up. It's about letting go of the need to control every detail and trusting that the flow of life will guide us. This act of surrender creates space for calmness to settle, transforming struggle into a sense of ease. Calmness is also a practice of gratitude. Turbulence often draws our attention to what's wrong, pulling us away from what's right. Practicing gratitude shifts this focus, reminding us of the blessings and stability already present in our lives. Gratitude doesn't eliminate challenges, but it reframes them, allowing us to approach them with a more balanced and centered mindset. This shift creates a foundation for calmness, even in the midst of chaos. Resilience is born from calmness. When we learn to let calmness settle naturally, we build the inner strength to face future turbulence with confidence. Resilience is not about avoiding challenges, but about developing the capacity to navigate them without losing our center. Each moment of turbulence becomes an opportunity to strengthen this resilience, transforming difficulty into growth. The path to calmness often begins with letting go of perfection. Turbulence can be amplified by the unrealistic expectation that life should always be smooth or that we should have all the answers. Accepting the imperfections of life and of ourselves reduces the pressure to fix everything immediately. This acceptance creates room for calmness to emerge, allowing us to engage with life more authentically and peacefully. Calmness is not an absence of movement, but a harmonious rhythm. Just as turbulent waters eventually settle into a steady flow, our lives find balance when we align with their natural rhythm. This harmony is achieved not through force, but through patience, trust, and presence. By letting calmness settle naturally, we discover that peace is not something we chase, it's something we allow to arise from within. Letting calmness settle naturally teaches us to move with the rhythm of life. But even this balance can be disrupted when effort becomes excessive. Striving itself is not the enemy. It fuels growth, motivates action, and helps us reach meaningful goals. Yet, when striving crosses a line, it can become toxic. This shift happens so subtly that it often goes unnoticed until exhaustion, frustration, or burnout demand attention. Understanding the signs of over-effort is essential to reclaiming balance and redirecting energy toward a healthier, more sustainable path. Toxic striving is rooted in the belief that success or self-worth is tied solely to achievement. This mindset pushes us to constantly do more, give more, and expect more of ourselves, even when it's at the expense of our well-being. It creates an endless cycle where no amount of effort ever feels like enough. Recognizing this pattern is the first step to breaking free from it. The signs are often found in the way we talk to ourselves. Critical inner voices that insist we haven't done enough, paired with an inability to rest or celebrate progress. One clear indicator of over-effort is the inability to rest without guilt. Rest becomes a source of discomfort rather than rejuvenation, as if pausing is a failure rather than a necessity. This mindset not only depletes physical energy, but also drains mental and emotional reserves, leaving us feeling perpetually on edge. Learning to see rest as a vital part of growth, not an indulgence but a foundation, is key to resetting this toxic pattern. Toxic striving often manifests as an obsession with control. When we strive excessively, we attempt to manage every detail, forcing outcomes that may be better left to unfold naturally. This obsessive need to control can lead to micromanaging tasks or relationships, creating tension and resistance both internally and externally. Releasing this need for control requires trust. Trust in our efforts, in others, and in the process of life itself. Trust shifts our focus from constant striving to intentional action, allowing space for better outcomes to arise. Another sign of over-effort is perfectionism. The pursuit of perfection is not about excellence, it's about fear. Fear of judgment, failure, or not being enough. This fear drives an endless loop of second-guessing, over-analyzing, and tweaking, which can stall progress and drain energy. True growth happens when we allow imperfection, focusing on learning and evolving rather than meeting impossible standards. Letting go of perfectionism requires courage, as it means embracing vulnerability and the possibility of mistakes. Over-effort also reveals itself through a lack of joy. When striving becomes toxic, the very things that once inspired or excited us feel burdensome. Passion is replaced by obligation, and the spark that initially drove our efforts begins to fade. Reconnecting with the why behind our actions, our deeper purpose or values, can reignite this spark. This shift reminds us that effort is most fulfilling when it's aligned with meaning rather than driven by pressure. The physical signs of over-effort are just as telling. Chronic stress, fatigue, and even physical illness often accompany excessive striving. The body sends signals when it's being pushed beyond its limits, but these signals are often ignored in the pursuit of goals. Listening to the body is an act of self-respect and care. It's a reminder that sustainable effort requires balance, and that pushing through exhaustion is not a badge of honor, but a warning sign. Over-effort also impacts relationships. When we are consumed by striving, we may neglect the people who matter most. Relationships can become transactional, reduced to what they can contribute to our goals, rather than valued for their own sake. Toxic striving often leads to isolation, as the focus on achievement overrides the need for connection. Rebuilding relationships requires stepping back from over-effort and prioritizing presence, showing up fully for others without the distraction of constant striving. The mind becomes trapped in cycles of overthinking when striving turns toxic. Instead of focusing on meaningful actions, we get caught in endless loops of planning, analyzing, and worrying. This mental exhaustion diminishes our ability to act effectively, creating a sense of paralysis rather than progress. Breaking free from overthinking involves simplifying our approach, focusing on one step at a time rather than trying to anticipate every possible outcome. Simplicity clears the mental clutter that over-effort creates. Toxic striving can also stem from comparison. Measuring our progress or success against others sets a standard that is both unrealistic and unhelpful. Comparison shifts the focus away from personal growth and toward external validation, which can never fully satisfy. Embracing individuality, our unique strengths, paths, and timelines, reclaims energy wasted on comparison. It redirects our efforts toward what truly matters to us, free from the pressure to compete or conform. Over-effort often creates a disconnect between effort and enjoyment. When striving becomes toxic, we focus solely on results, neglecting the process that leads to them. The journey feels like a means to an end, rather than a meaningful experience in itself. Reframing effort as an opportunity to grow, learn, and engage with the present moment restores balance. This perspective transforms striving from a burden into a source of fulfillment. Letting go of toxic striving doesn't mean giving up ambition or goals. It means aligning our efforts with intention and balance. Sustainable effort respects both our capacities and our limits, recognizing that growth is a marathon, not a sprint. Slowing down and pacing ourselves ensures that we can continue moving forward without depleting our reserves. It's not about doing less, but about doing better, focusing on quality over quantity. Recognizing the signs of over-effort also involves addressing the underlying fears that drive it. Fear of failure, rejection, or inadequacy often fuels toxic striving, creating a sense of urgency and pressure. Facing these fears directly, acknowledging and questioning them, helps to dismantle their hold on us. This process requires compassion, both for the parts of us that strive and for the parts that struggle. Self-compassion turns striving into a kinder, more supportive journey. The transformational power of releasing toxic striving lies in the freedom it brings. Without the weight of constant pressure, we gain clarity, energy, and a renewed sense of purpose. Effort becomes a choice rather than an obligation, allowing us to engage fully and authentically with what we do. This freedom creates space for creativity, connection, and joy, which are often stifled by the intensity of over-effort. By recognizing the signs of toxic striving, we reclaim control over our energy and focus. We learn to listen to our needs, honor our limits, and direct our efforts toward what truly aligns with our values. This shift not only improves our well-being, but also enhances the quality of our work and relationships. Striving becomes a tool for growth rather than a source of stress, empowering us to achieve more with less resistance. When we let go of over-effort, we rediscover the balance between ambition and contentment. Effort becomes a harmonious dance where action is guided by intention and supported by rest. This balance allows us to achieve our goals while staying grounded and connected to what truly matters. It transforms striving from a toxic cycle into a meaningful and fulfilling journey. Through this process, we find not only success, but also the peace and joy that striving was meant to bring. When you stop grasping, life unfolds in ways you never thought possible, through the wisdom of letting go, of obsession, control, and attachment. You discover that peace and progress are not found in force, but in flow. By embracing non-attachment, trusting life's rhythm, and releasing the grip of expectations, you unlock a freedom that allows results to come naturally. The harder you chase, the further peace drifts away. But when you surrender to the journey, focusing on presence and purposeful action, life aligns itself beautifully. This journey isn't about giving up, it's about showing up differently, caring deeply while letting go of clinging, striving with balance, and allowing time to do its work, transforms not only how you live, but how you experience the world around you. It's not a rejection of effort, but an invitation to align your effort with intention and trust. Results come when you stop caring for the outcome with desperation and start living in harmony with what is. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What spoke to you the most from this journey into letting go? Leave a comment below and share how you plan to apply this wisdom to your own life. Let's create a space for growth and connection together. If this resonated with you, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on more wisdom that can transform your life. Together, let's continue exploring the depths of peace, purpose, and fulfillment. Your next step toward a freer, calmer life begins here.